Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back to the Oceanic Challenger Series. My name is Jake Hysterix, Aussie Penko. Joining you is Nathan Mendrix Mendez, and we're back on the scene for Week 6. And I gotta say, we've got some strong teams that have made an impression in this league. Chiefs Black, Legacy Genesis, the names come flying, and an undefeated team comes through as well, Mendrix.
Oh, yeah, they're huge at the moment as well. And we're actually starting to see some of the other teams come into their own as well, actually fighting back against these Titans, so especially with Chiefs Black. They're just amazing at the moment. Legacy Genesis putting up a fantastic fight in the last series, but Chiefs Black still keep going.
That's right. And as we get to the end of this competition, we're seeing who the definitive players are, or should I say teams coming through. If we go and have a quick look at the standings here, you can see that Chiefs Black, wow, 5-0. They're the Reginald legacy coming from OPL there. And it's amazing to see the sister team of the Chiefs doing a lot better. Fornot come through as second, but sharing that second with Abyss Red and Alpha Sydney as well. Abyss White falling a little bit behind with Legacy Genesis and Sentinel, and unfortunately Legion, as of this moment, have yet to pick up the win. However, 6 week, they can still get some numbers on the board, still get a bit of reputation coming through as well. Mendrix, as we move to Week 6, we've moved to patch 6.4, and as if things don't get more complicated themselves, some minor changes, but there's a lot going on in this patch.
There is actually quite a massive amount going on in this patch. Some of the most notable changes are actually to some of the items out there as well. A big one is the nerf to Runic Echoes.
Oh, yeah.
So what they've done there is they've gone, okay, we're going to tie back a little bit in the amount of movement speed that you get from it. It's not going to be up as often because of that, so you're actually losing a little bit of damage because you're not moving as fast anymore. It's going to hit a lot of those early pressure junglers, such as the Nidalee. such as the Gragas as well. Gragas is going to feel that a little bit.
But Gragas is still relevant.
Gragas is still relevant. He still does a lot of damage. Actually seeing some play in the OPL as well.
Yeah.
So he's, and they're on the 6.4 patch as well. So he's still going to be there, believe it or not, because he's had those quality of life changes. And that Rooting Echo is still a pretty powerful item. On top of that as well, Ravenous Hydra and Titanic Hydra, rest in peace.
Can't swap.
You can't swap them anymore. You now have to stick to one build path, which it's a bit unfortunate, but it means if Fiora gets hit a little bit half, it's coupled with some extra nerfs on top of that. She's not going to be in the best position as anymore. Not that dominant Fiora that we like to see. Still, if you've got mechanical play on her, she can still perform. But it's just going to be a bit harder to actually snowball the game because you can't start off safe and then swap it around to being dangerous afterwards. You have to stick with being safe if you decide to take that route.
And I know a couple of teams that are going to be a bit disappointed about that Titanic Ravenous Hydra swap. As we look at the schedule for tonight, and I've got to get excited for this first one. Alpha Sydney, one of our strongest teams, of course, and Abyss Red, who've shown themselves up a lot as well. Chiefs Black will be following that with Abyss White, and then later on, Legion Gaming and Sentinel, joined with you by Rogi and Preacher. Fornot and Legacy Genesis to close it out for you as well. Alpha Sydney and Abyss Red to start off for you. I'm quite excited because he's now called himself Frogger God. It's not Frogger Dog anymore. He's swapped it around. He's gone, okay, now I can say it. Frogger God coming through in the top lane there. Big fan of the Trundle. Plays the Malphite well. Plays into his team composition. Now remember, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, Mendrix, but Alpha Sydney, the Cogmore comp came through. Pretty heavy stuff.
Pretty crazy there.
Blinky just played an amazing Cogmore, just stood back and just threw acid everywhere. On the side of Abyss Red, not too many roster changes. Luch, of course, I could say the words I wanted to say. Oriana. And there it is. I've said it anyway. That's all right. Squidgy and T-Gun down the bottom, so a new synchronizing bottom lane there. T-Gun, of course, coming in last week. Interesting to see an ex-OPL player come through back to the OCS, so the experience is on his side. However, Alpha Sydney, though, their bottom lane is quite menacing.
They're monstrous, and it's purely because of just how mechanically good Blinky is. I cannot stress how much you need to make sure you keep this guy in check. Because if he gets a lead, he's going to take it, he's going to run with it, and the rest of the team is just going to play around him. Whether it be that they're going to go this full offensive build so that way he can just destroy everyone with Cogmore. Cogmore, mind you, did get a slight nerf, but guess what? It's not too crazy. He's still probably going to see that machine gun of acid coming out of everyone. But he's really good on Lucian. Lucian, a little bit of a slight nerf as well this patch. They took a little bit off the range off his ultimate, but that's not what made him so strong. It's his ability to engage, double tap, that lane dominance that he brings to teams.
And like you said, of course, that's not what Lucian kit about. However, I do see that Jinx might still be viable down in the bottom lane. We have seen across the regions Jinx coming into 6.3 and 6.4. Jinx viability in Oceania, though, not as big as I've preferred. The Challenger Series, we saw it come out before, didn't go too well. However, I guess it really is about that team composition where you play Jinx, Mendrix.
And especially what champions are out there at the moment, because the big weakness of Jinx is that she doesn't have a reliable escape. Short of, I need to kill someone or I need to kill a tower to get my Get Excited passive so I can actually escape after doing that. That's her big win window. But if she doesn't have that,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. She still does a lot of damage, and that's one of the things that makes her popular or gives her on the cusps of coming back. Because it means that if she does get going again, maybe a slight little buff on the side, you can easily come back. Because she still does ridiculous amounts of damage. She's still actually quite strong. It's just she's not in the meta.
Not in the meta, and neither is someone who I like to mention a lot. Aatrox is not in the meta. However, he gets changed. He gets changed in 6.4 to make him a little bit more viable. It's just the tiniest bit. I mean, Aatrox still has this problem with early game damage, in my opinion. But
he's actually quite good in the early game where he can actually all in, and then on top of that, because of his passive, he's able to force effective trades.
Right.
Because people will go, okay, well, even if I do manage to kill him one-on-one, I'm going to be low, and he's just going to come back. So it's a bit of a sad story. He's just really hard for him. He gets kited really easily. His main initiate is also his main escape. Once he really uses that, it's kind of hard for him to get onto people. So that's why he's had a bit of a problem. So I don't think we're going to see him in this particular game or in all the rest of the games. He needs a little bit more love.
A little bit more tweaking as we move to Champ Select now. Fiora gets taken out off the side of Alpha Sydney, which Frogger Dog he's not going to let that one go through. Pabu going to go ahead and get the first ban. I believe Pantheon gets taken out as a new sort of shift in the meta. Kalista a safe pick as well, or should I say ban. Pantheon though, Mendrix.
So Pantheon, he's one of those guys of indirect buffs that have come across. That's why he's so strong.
Yeah.
He synergizes really well with a Thunderlord's passive. People have realized, hey, wait a second, you know, you can take Ignite, you don't need to take Teleport. After that, you can pretty much run from your lane after you get the kill to then make your pressure known everywhere else around the map. He has received a few nerfs recently where they're sort of hitting him where, okay, he's not going to have the same...
map
Wait,
pressure.
it hasn't happened yet, actually. He's still pretty big in 6.4.
Yeah.
6.5 is when those nerfs come across. So he's still going to have the same amount of map pressure. But what makes him really impressive is the fact that he's got the Corrupting Potion. He's going to keep throwing those spears at you. And then when you're low, he's got a very binary move path without too much counterplay, which is why you're getting those little changes as well. On top of that, a lot of the champions at the moment do a lot of single target damage, trying to increase that rapid fire cannon. That is falling off a bit, but the fact of the matter is he stops his initial hits. He's fantastic against Fiora, which is why I'm interested to go on, hey, let's ban Fiora, and then let's ban the guy that counters her. I don't really understand
Well,
that.
it's just
I
pieces
think
off
they're
the
probably
board.
just trying to hit Pabu. Pabu might be trying to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
And Froggadog wants to... He's been known to be more aggressive, but he's been really playing those tanks recently. So they're probably going to say, all right, let's get rid of this aggressiveness. Let's let Froggadog do what he does best.
Still laughing about the name change. However, it's Froggadog in the jab select. So it stays Dog for now. God's going to have to wait as Nautilus gets the first pick. Last ban for Abyss Red, though, saving the Cogmore till the very end. Blinky, no chance in hell is he going to get that one. As Abyss Red goes for their first two picks, and Nautilus top is still the ever-safe pick for OCS.
Yeah, he just brings everything to the team. Great initiate, the fact that he's a tank on top of that, and he's extremely safe in lane. And when you add to the fact that Sunfire Cape was buffed recently, it just gives him so much wave clear when he couples it with Riptide. He's a really safe pick, and there's not much that really counters him, short of, say, the Trundle, but even then, he's still going to be amazing in a team fight just because of that utility he brings.
That's exactly right. Alistair. Oh, T-Gun on Alistair. Gents, we let that one slide through.
People didn't realize
as well. But Alistair is just this unstoppable support who's been relevant for about 2 seasons now.
It's just because he brings everything that a team wants. He's sort of like Nautilus, but in that bottom lane. And the reason is, you need a tank for neutral objectives, you've got the Alistar. You want someone to initiate fights, you've got the Alistar. You want someone who can disengage, you have the Alistar. He is sort of this one-hit wonder that just brings everything to a team. And that's why he's so contested. That's why he is pick and ban pretty much in every region in any form of competitive play. He's even great in solo queue, guys.
Little hints coming from Mendrix 101. Lucian and Lissandra, very affirmative picks, get locked in straight away. And already Alpha Sydney start looking like a brutish team comp.
Yep, and Lucian, again, is fantastic on Blinky. Blinky loves to play Lucian. He really shines on him just because of his mechanical prowess. The fact that he's able to weave those auto attacks in between each cast that he does just amplifies the amount of damage you can put out there with the double taps.
What?
And there's the Jin!
I said, okay, so some background story. Before this,
There's some buffs
I
to him.
said there's not going to be Jin. No one's going to play Jin. He's too immobile, too much going on with him. Jin and Poppy, yeah, okay, Jin.
Okay, so Jin, they've done a whole range of buffs to him. They've buffed his movement speed, helping a little bit with his mobility. They've also given him a little bit of extra damage with the scaling. The big things that they've done, though, is that now he does more damage to turrets. That fourth hit that he has does roughly 44% more damage, which is actually quite a big amount considering the amount of AD he's able to build up. And that means that now the reason why you like having ADCs on the team is because you need something to take the turrets out. That's that's apart from the fact that they'll delete a team if you put them in the right spot. Cogmore. but that being said, you need to have the ADC to take out turrets, and Jin couldn't really do that because he had no attack speed. It was all based around him getting extra AD, and now that he's got that, it makes him more effective. And on top of that, you have a fantastic team fight where he's lined up. My god, he can just shred through teams with his ultimate, and that's what they're going to be playing around.
Rek'Sai, Grom for the final picks at Alpha Sydney. They've got a pretty strong team composition coming through. However, I'm just a little bit scared about that Jin pick as Abyss Red go for their last.
What it's saying to me is Squidgy is actually feeling quite confident because it's not something that you want to pick into Blinky, especially when he's got the Lucian, because Lucian's going to put out a lot of pressure into him. I think one of the other buffs that they made is that it makes it a bit easier for him to put out his Deadly Flourish to actually proc the stun lockdown. So that's something that's going to be more effective for him, because I think it lasts about 4 seconds. As long as you've got your champions or your teammates hitting someone, it's going to remain up. And if you cast your ability while it's still up, that means they still get locked down. Whereas before, if you cast it and it had just phased off, you don't get it anymore. So it's a little bit of quality of life changes as well with the buffs. But I'm a bit worried because you are dealing with Lucian here, and Lucian's really strong in the hands of Blinky.
And Azir is the final pick for Abyss Red. Azir and Jhin. Okay, so we're drifting a little bit outside the casual picks. New patch, different elements of play here. Luch goes for Azir mid, and I have not seen this one yet.
It's interesting because he had Victor's open. But hey guys, Victor's been nerfed. They hit a little bit on the death ray.
Enough to count.
It counts a bit because it's a double hit that they've done to it, because it's the initial hit and then it sort of blows up a little bit. That's been hit twice. Mind you, the big reason you did take him was for the Chaos Storm on top of that. So if you laid all your abilities in one hit, it was just ridiculous amounts of burst. But now that he doesn't scale as well into the late game, I think Luch is just trying to mix it up a little bit. On top of that, it is going to be a Victor versus a Lissandra.
Yep.
It is a bit risky for you to take Victor into Lissandra as well, because he's not the most mobile guy out there, and she has the ability to get on top of him, lock him down with that Frozen Tomb, and that's one dead Victor. I'm
still very, very confused about the bottom lane. Jhin versus Lucian, I don't have much input on that. However, they're both...
No, I don't have much input on that as well. But, like, Jhin hasn't been played that much in terms of as a whole in every single region.
He played in mid or something.
There's a few that he has been played. Yeah. He's just starting to come out now. Because, again, all those quality life changes, those buffs, it makes him a little bit more viable in the patch. And the big thing you're playing around is that ultimate team fights is what you're looking at. And, again, it's Oceanic. There's going to be team fights.
That's right. Well, you'd assume so. I mean, we've had one game on the OCS where it pretty much resulted in, someone strolling in the back of the lane. And that was Praetor on Chiefs Black with the Fiora, who just, walked in the back. It's like, hey, just walking through. I still can't get over that. Last week, that was just the biggest...
It was a bit anticlimactic,
That's
and
right.
to be honest, it just worked out perfectly for Chiefs Black, because they're sitting there going we're beating into them. Eventually, we'll get them. He went in. He figured he'd get the game plank. He's like, damn, I dived really deep. I've got nothing for it. Oh, Corky.
Yeah, just
Sweet.
flip a couple across the road. You're just one hit away, and that's all it took. So these games are still very, very climactical in the end. And especially with a Jhin and a Nazir on a team, I mean, something interesting has got to happen with these games. However, Alpha Sydney have picked a very, very strong team composition. That Nautilus top, I feel, is holding together these teams. And Lissandra, as always, is just that person to initiate.
Exactly. On top of that, she doesn't have to be the one to initiate. No. You've also got Rek'Sai to initiate. You've also got Nautilus to initiate. Alpha Sydney's team that they've built across is this really strong team that really says, we're going to get in your face, we're going to lock you down.
Yeah.
On top of that, you do have a very kite-focused team on the side of Abyss Red, where they do have Squidgy running with Jhin. He doesn't want to be caught. He wants to be in the back lines constantly. Luch is going to be using his soldiers to make sure that no one can get there. A lot of zone control. T-Gun, look for him to be in Squidgy's back pocket at all times. You want to make sure that no one gets on top of his Jhin, because especially another change they made to it, now, if you do get an attack speed slow onto Jhin, it also affects his AD now. That was a change that didn't happen before. So a little bit of a hidden nerf in between everything as well. So they really want to make sure Squidgy's protected, make sure no debuffs are going on to him.
Alpha Sydney waiting in the bush for the potential invade, but Abyss Red are just fanning out with standard lanes coming across. Blinky and Luna going to move towards those Gromps, or should I say Krugs, as the right terminology comes across. Pabu going to sit up top and probably help General start with Krugs as well. Standard warding going out, and Abyss Red going a bit early with their fan. And Jin's dance, just don't know what's going on there. I don't understand.
It looks a little bit like Michael Jackson happened in there.
Oh, yeah.
He's a bit, bringing back the theatrics. That's what he's all about, theatrics. If you have a quick read of his lore, he's all about being that Phantom of the Opera. But pretty standard starts across. Yeah. Had to be mentioned.
Gotta read some more lore. Gotta read some more lore. Pabu and Froggadog, or Froggagod, I should say, just going to go back to their lanes, help out with the buffs to start off with. General. Now, Nidalee last week was played as a very aggressive jungling opponent. Not sure if we're going to see the same thing from General. I feel like he plays it very, very, very passively in early game compared to other junglers. He's not as aggressive as some of the other opponents in the OCS.
And it's a bit hard to actually do it into a Rek'Sai as well, because he's going to be spending most of his time burrowed under the ground, making sure he can see everything that's around him. Because if he's going in his jungle, sees there's a Tremor Sense nearby, he can safely assume that's a Nidalee. And he's going to not try to fight her. Nidalee is so strong early. He's just going to make sure he can avoid her. And on top of that, he's actually well ahead of her in terms of sustain at the moment. So the General's probably not going to be doing anything too crazy. He needs to make sure he stays healthy, because he actually can get popped quite quickly.
I've always found it's quite easy to jungle as Rek'Sai in the early game. General, or should I say Nidalee, actually does fall behind a little bit in terms of clearing, in my opinion.
She's actually got fantastic clear.
But can she sustain it to go through all her camps?
Yes, you can.
Maybe
you have to move in and out quickly. Frogger taking a bit of a trade by Pabu.
He's going to get forced out of the lane. Probably just me with my Nidalee place. Frogger no mana on the board. Slight level disadvantage in that top lane.
Farm pretty bit trouble there.
That's right. General. Like I said, look at his health. Come on. Does have blue, so will heal up only on full health. We get the Tremor Senses. General waiting for the spear, but doesn't throw it just yet. We'll see it come out in a moment. Who gets the scuttle? It's an intense 1v1. Actually backs off, and General gets that with quite ease. Luch applying pressure across the map already.
It's purely because at that point in time, Abyss Red was starting to push up, so that means if he was to go for that Scuttle Crab, he would have had to worry about not getting support, while General would have got support. So he had to back away from the Scuttle Crab there, because if he did engage, it could have ended up in a skirmish that they would lose.
Now Squidgy actually harassing Blinky a little bit down bottom. Luna and Blinky playing it quite close to the board. General continuing to roam around this map. Already level 4. Actually might pop in mid for Mrs. Lysandra. Goes around the bushes. Gonna go peek at blue. Instead throws a spear at the wolves there. Gonna get the wisp, get a bit of early vision. And the invade comes from Nidalee right off the bat. Very, very impressed. And Nidalee's standard pretty much coming through Mendrix.
Well, she's very safe when she does do the invade as well. And as I mentioned, Rek'Sai is going to be trying to avoid her, so she knows she has that advantage. And it was just so intelligent to go straight for the wolf, because then it gives more cover for Pabu as well. Because every time he's going to be in that part of the jungle, if he decides to make his way there, but it also gives you a bit of a notification to know there's a team fight happening.
There he is. Look at the stun coming through. Jin, remember, he's a bit immobile for this, but he does do quite a bit of damage on only. T-Gun and Squidgy, are they going to go back on this? They don't. And only, very nice gank coming through.
So as I was mentioning before, the Wolf Wisp lets you know where exactly in the jungle the enemy jungle is, but they're going into Frogger.
Frogger, bit too far out. Teleport comes through. First blood to Pabu. And the hype train has started, almost dying himself.
And just a natural push there, the General making sure he had control of the jungle. That's what allowed him to get the kill onto Frogger there. Very good player. And I was trying to mention before, it lets you know where they are. He gave a little bit of warning.
Tell me.
I was trying to get to it. I was needed to get there.
Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm. No action. Oceanic, these guys are going to fight. And it gives you a little bit of notification. But Blinky, he's low.
Oh, the ignite goes off. T-Gun, very aggressive in the bottom lane. Luna can't do anything there. And a kill goes to T-Gun, but an assist goes to Jin. I'm scared of that lane.
It's actually really surprising that this is what's happening. We know Blinky, he's just so good on the Lucian, but now Squidgy, he's just showing us what you can do on Jin. He's actually good at harassing with him. On top of that, he does have a very good meat shield, the cow, giving constant sustain in that lane. And it's impressive that they managed to get that kill as well, because the gank went early to the bot lane. The advantage should be for Alpha Sydney down there, but for some reason, our Abyss Red just taking control.
Pabu is quite pushed back against his turret. Luch continuing to show that he is the farm dominant in this lane. Actually 10 CS ahead of his lane opponent now. Luch, he's going to get stunned through there. He pops his ult himself. Level 4 Rek'Sai is going to get pushed off. And a spear forcing a flash out of BTKA. Really nice pressure from General to match that up. And Alpha Sydney not looking strong in this early game.
No, they're having a bit of an issue at the moment. And it seems to be one of those cases where they're getting harassed out just by mechanical play by both of these teams at the moment. And just a little bit of positioning error by the positioning errors in the top lane by Frogger. He's the reason why they went down. He was the first blood. But, well, that's a bad place to be.
I think
that's why you invade with Nidalee.
I think General got that as well. I think he smited that.
It's quite possible that he did get that. He just has the execute damage, has the smite damage, so a bit unfortunate for Alpha Sydney, losing out a little bit of extra gold that they're trying to eke out wherever they can around the map. But that's why you can invade with Nidalee. She jumps in, gets what she needs to, she can jump away, she can move out of all the different levels of terrain. And a great start for Abyss Red, already up 2k.
That's right, and BF Sword comes through for Squidgy. Caulfield's Warhammer on Blinky, not going to cut it at this stage. The damage that's coming out of Squidgy is absolutely immense at this point in time. Luch goes for the Nashor's Tooth build. Going to go for that soldier attack speed coming through. BTK8 looking for that Rod of Ages. Only just started to build it with the Protector. And both junglers, of course, pretty standard stuff. Tracker's Knife, Poacher's Knife.
Tracker's Knife.
Thank you very much. Once upon a time. But the Tracker's Knife.
Poacher's Knife was replaced.
Thank you. Just like Runeglaive. Was that what it was?
It was,
Runeglaive.
yes, it was Runeglaive.
I remember the old ones. I remember the day.
You remember the day.
Like an very old person.
Back in the day.
Just still trying to clear his way. BTK are going to clear a bit of ward coverage as well. Luch still quite dominant in this lane. Went for the double Dorans to start off with. Obviously looking for that damage to pique his interest.
I really love double Doran's build. Personally, and also on his ear, because it means that you do get that extra little bit of sustain that you need, and then on top of that, every time you kill a minion, more mana sustain as well. Plus, it gives you a little bit of an early push, especially seeing as Lissandra has the ability to actually lock you down and take you out. He used a beautiful Emperor's Divide to escape before, so it gives you just a little bit of extra tankiness, gives you the sustain that you need, and plus, at the end of the day, he will outscale Lissandra. Lissandra has amazing teamfight and initiate, but if you don't nail that perfectly, those soldiers will rip your team to pieces.
Pabu still making a wet noodle fight of that top lane. Frogger continuing to fall behind in CS, but both going for Bammy Cinder to start off with, and the Negatron Cloak comes through too. Both going towards, I believe, Zizzy Rot would be the look here.
Zizzy Rot. It is one of the best items at the moment, purely because the amount of sustain it gives, or no, sorry, not the amount of sustain, the amount of resistance it gives. So if you're a bit worried about mixed damage in the teams, you want to make sure you get those resistance. You want to get those resistances across the board. That's one item that covers all your bases, and then you get that beautiful lane pressure, the boot as well. Seeing as those slow changes that they've made to Zizzy's Rot's portal means that you also get gold when the Voidlings get the kills. And on top of that, they actually attack the minions now as well. So it's really good. It's amazing how much lane pressure it really gives, even though it seems like such a small little add of one extra minion.
Luch pops a soldier there. God, he's been a little bit cheeky in this middle lane. General and Only have a bit of a fight. Gets Scuttle, though, on the side of Abyss Red, and now Pabu's pushing deep into enemy territory. Only is going to get that Tremor Sense. Frogger moving down to this jungle as well. Might see a bit of a fight coming through here. Frogger doesn't flash over the wall, nor does he go for a dredge line. He's still quite quiet over the map, however, Abyss Red, small gold advantage continues to build.
And you can really just see where the game is at this point in time, just based off the amount of wards there. These aggressive wards come. What happened there?
I don't know, but Blink, he picks up a kill off the bat. He's gone the wrong way, T-Gun pops the ult. And now suddenly I see Blinky on hardly any health, and T-Gun finishes it off with a nice little combo, and the headbutt gets him. Only takes a bit of damage from General, but I don't think it's going to be the end here. Pops the spear through. General misses that one. And down bottom, Blinky retaliates just a little bit.
And that's Blinky showing us that he's still not down for the count, that if you do give him that little bit of an inch, he'll take a mile and kill you. And that's just a little bit of extra gold that just didn't need to go to Alpha Sydney, and going into the person that they actually need to get big as well. So well done by them to actually retaliate, have a bit of a response against Abyss Red. But at the end of the day, those wards are still there for Abyss Red, and they're still taking control of the jungle. So watch Only's influence in the map get limited purely by the amount of pressure Abyss Red are putting out. And the longer this game goes, it's going to be a bit of a problem for Alpha City. They may have this massive engaged team composition, which is sort of, you know, press R will break you right there and then. But if Abyss Red have a decent lead, and they've got this really strong sieging composition, even if you do get that engage, it gives a little bit of error room for Abyss Red. And that means that they're just, even though they sum it up, they can go back. But there's the teleports coming in.
Both teleports come through. A spear goes in. Cancelled on the side of Alpha Sydney. Suddenly Abyss Red have mid. They're going to push this one down. They've got a bit of control. And very well played by Abyss Red, although no kills come through. But positioning at the moment is quite good, as there is the Frozen Tomb. Pabu has to force a flash there, trying to get out, but he is. T-Gun's there on the back foot. And Abyss Red, you can't deal with them right now.
Abyss Red used the teleports. They had the numbers advantage, and they said, okay, we're going to use this at the moment. We're going to try and push this lane. Alpha Sydney had to react. They had to blow a few ultimates to push them off the tower. But Blinky, whoa!
What is going on? He's sending down the wild shots coming through. Blinky has to try and dodge it. The critical misses as well. Blinky gets through all 4 of those shots. Squidgy's got the crit. T-Gun's there. He can tank this. Nice flash from Blinky.
Wow, that's what we're talking about.
Exceptional.
That is what we're talking about with Blinky, having that mechanical prowess. Sure, he didn't get the end of the trade there, but BTKA, he's playing with fire.
Because he knows Only's there, and General has to pounce out. Nothing again. But mid lane, Luch continues to thwart a 30 CS gold lead.
And that's quite big to have in the lane as well, especially when with Azir, who's been known to be a little bit weaker in the early game, who then scales amazingly towards the late game. That BTK hasn't done too much there to really pressure. That teleport's starting to really hurt him a bit because he hasn't used it. Whereas Luch knew he had to worry about the Frozen Tomb. He's picked up that cleanse. So you have a little bit of pressure advantage for Alpha Sydney, but it just hasn't been used yet. And Abyss Red is just slowly pushing more and more ahead.
Luna going to do some warning of his own, but he gets spotted by 2 members of Abyss Red. Sends out a Frozen Icicle. Does not hit anyone though. Luch continues to farm, has the Nashaur's Tooth, but Rod of Ages finished for BTKA, so both starting to scale heavily. Of course, we've seen what Lysandra can do with the team. Azir not played too much at the moment, but he does pick up a turret in the mid lane.
Just the pressure he's putting out at the moment.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, and BTKA can't defend off that one. However, he's still pushed up. They spot General out with that Scuttle Grab, and Only's in position, but doesn't go after it. So continuing to find map errors from the side of Abyss Red. However, they do get out of situations quite well.
Absolutely. And they've got a lot of pressure in the bottom lane as well. There's no one really there. Bronze desperately trying to come back. There's the Void Rush to sort of give some support, give Abyss Red a little bit of a second thought before getting in there. But that damage from Jin, Blinky's been taken down a half.
That was a crit, wasn't it?
That was a crit indeed.
You'd hope so.
But that was
wrong.
a crit from I believe that was a normal shot. That wasn't one of his
oh god,
his 4th shots. If that was a 4th shot,
he's
we'd
got
be
Infinity
so
Edge.
much
That's
more.
why he's finally finished his first item. He doesn't go for anything outside of the norm. Infinity Edge on first item on Jin because that's all he's about.
He's all about that extra damage, and even if you do build attack speed, it's still going to give you more AD. You don't get attack speed off it.
That's right.
And if you build more crit, you get more. It's just ridiculous the amount of damage that he gets as the game goes on, because he's not going to be scaling the same way as your traditional ADC. And the pressure just mounting further and further. Abyss Red take another tower. They're now 5k up at the 15-minute mark.
Absolutely massive. 2 turrets ahead. Now Only gets sent back to his own turret. It's a 2v3 down bot, and Abyss Red Squidgy so squishy. And T-Gun can't defend this one. Alpha Sydney pick up another kill off the bat.
And Alpha Sydney just showing that, okay, we do know where we are strong. It is in our bot lane. It is using Blinky. And it's showing us the weakness of Jin. If he is caught, he will die. Because there wasn't much he could really do there. He tried to sort of make some moves. T-Gun did his best to stop Only from getting in there, but you've got a Brom as well, and that's going to be a little bit going back to Alpha Sydney.
They start dragging off quite confidently. Alpha Sydney in control. However, General's there on the back foot. BTKA is now in as well. 4 members, not too sure what they can do about this unless General tries to get a lucky spear. He doesn't. All these members have escapes here. All members have escaped to Alpha Sydney.
They're all out.
I think a flash was actually just used by Only as well.
They were a bit worried there because Abyss Red were making their move towards it, sort of catch them after the dragon. There was no way they were going to get it, but they wanted to get themselves a consolation prize, and it was a flash that they ended up getting for it.
So Pink Ward going to remain there for the time being. Blinky back off to bottom lane, actually back to base. Probably going to build his essence of the Reaver or finish it, but Abyss Red are pressuring this mid turret so easily. Not sure what BTKA can do, except he stuns them. He roots them in the ground. He now ults Pabu, and Pabu's the target here. But T-Gun goes back in. He's popped his ultimate as well. No, he hasn't, not just yet. Luch pops up a turret of his own, and this is what Azir is known for. I don't think anyone goes down in the end. But God, I've got to say, T-Gun is on point with his Alistair this game.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. But there goes General. He's been hooked.
General waiting for the last hit. BTK are forced to flash out. And there's Frogodog. He gets ignited, so he's going to go down. Spear misses on Luna, but there is the Jin ult. Takes out Luna, so it's too strong. Now Blinky gets taken out by a combination of Luch and Squidgy. 3 members down. Another turret goes, and this could be the inhibitor turret.
Abyss Red played that perfectly, and this was just them putting that pressure after that dragon. Alpha Sydney had the back. There was not much they could really do there. Instantly, they make their move. All right, we're going to take this turret. That's going to be our consolation prize at the end of the day. But you know what? Alpha Sydney tried to defend. They ended up using too much to get Pabu, and he didn't fall. And then after that point, Abyss Red just had so much extra options available to them with ultimates, with abilities, with their siege potential, and they're just taking a massive lead now. They're running away with the game, taking that inhibitor.
It's easy, right? Little minions secure that one. Look at them. How annoying is that? I mean, like, there's an extra wave of minions coming through. They secure the inhibitor. They give a strong lead to this early game, moving into the mid, and a big gold advantage is starting up here. Looks like Alpha Sydney are moving towards his Baron side. However, Abyss Red aren't all around at this stage. Luch is going to back here. But he might get caught out if he sticks around too long. He finds that there are members there. And Alpha Sydney go towards his top side. Not going to even touch Baron. Or sorry, Rift Herald at this stage. Just going to go ahead and try and get a turret. Try and capitalize some gold. Which at the moment they're falling very far behind on. 3 members strong top. BTK sits mid. And Blinky trying to get what remains of farm down bottom. I'm not sure Biscuit Red can really defend it at this stage, but Squidgy's going to go ahead and try. He's quite immobile, so I'm not sure. Wow. Okay. They nearly missed that one, but turret goes down to Alpha Sydney. Consolation prize as to what just happened.
Well, Abyss Red essentially said, we want to buy now. We've just got so much gold. We got the kills, got everything we needed to. Alpha Sydney were able to pick up the turret for that. So Abyss Red wanted to capitalize and make sure they had their items bought, ready to go. They'd lose the top tower for it. But there's so much pressure now on the map. Alpha Sydney are going to have a really uphill battle to get out of this.
Luch goes ahead and steals that blue. Impressive feature at the moment since he's so far ahead. He goes for Rylai's in the second item. Means he's just going to be a little bit harder to kill.
Because they know that Alpha Sydney have this go button, and if you have a little bit of tankiness, a little bit more options to actually kite back with a slow, that means your team's going to be more effective. And because they are ahead, it's fine for him to actually sacrifice more damage to get a little bit of more utility. But there's the teleport coming by Alpha Sydney.
Teleport comes through, so it hasn't been cancelled just yet. Only doesn't hit anything. There's the Bromo, only onto Luch at this stage. He backs off, so they're not engaging, but T-Gun takes a massive brunt of the damage. Looks like Abyss Red are all in there now. Rift Herald goes back. He's very inappropriate with his timings. And Abyss Red sit here, don't do anything. But we wait for something to happen.
Well, they don't need to be proactive anymore. All they need to do now is just apply pressure on a certain part of the map. They've already got their big advantage in the mid lane. And that's exactly what they're doing. Alpha Sydney have to back off. That's a free tower for Abyss Red. And they're just going to keep on applying this pressure. Wait for Alpha Sydney to use their cooldowns. And once they know they don't have any ammo left, that's when they'll strike.
Blinky trying to just wave clear this one. They don't want a second turret to go down. BTK finds, but Pabu's in all the way. Now Frogodog's in that backline trying to CC everyone, but Luch doing so much damage there. T-Gun almost goes down to the turret. In fact, he gets taken out by Lysandra. It's a 1-for-0, but nice snipe coming from Squidgy. Take out BTK if he can. There's the last hit. Does a bit of excess damage, but I think Abyss Red have the capabilities to take out this turret.
It's just such amazing siege potential there. I thought they were being a little bit too overzealous by going for it, but all they lose is T-Gun. And they managed to get the turret as well. More pressure on the side of Abyss Red. Now that that side of the map is open, they just need to put themselves there one more time, and they could possibly get 2 inhibitors on the next back, because that other one's due to respawn at some point in time.
I just got to say, Luch was fantastic in that fight. I mean, all he has to really do is kite back, like you said, and auto-attack with his minions, but that Rylai's pretty much CC'd Nautilus to the point where he couldn't come back to his team.
Doing work.
That's right, that's right. And so it's a fantastic itemization coming through here. General just going to back off at Baron, get that watered down as soon as possible. Definitely a good turning point for Alpha Sydney if they can steal this one off, but Baron possibilities coming through for Abyss Red.
And they have the pressure now. That's what they need to do. They probably need to wait until they have both those 2 inhibitors down, because they still find themselves susceptible to a steal by Alpha Sydney, because again, they have so many engaged possibilities that if you're caught in that Baron pit and there's a massive Lissandra ult. You've got the Death Charge. You've got a Rek'Sai borrowing on top of all your faces, and a Culling just flipping in and out of that team fight. It's going to be a massacre if they catch you in between that choke point. So Abyss Red really need to make sure that they remain in the lanes, make sure they've got enough pressure so it's going to be a safe Baron. But they're at that point in the game, they don't even really need to go for it. It could be their throw potential, and they don't want to worry about that. They're happy just to get the dragons. They're going to be nice and quick and easy to take away, and just slowly continue to whittle Alpha Sydney down. That's the best game plan for them at the moment. Alpha Sydney need to find that team fight soon.
Squidgy doing so much damage, and I really don't want to see what he can do in the team fights. If he's left untouched, it's going to be a little bit scary on the side of Alpha Sydney. Infinity Edge and Static Shiv gets picked up, and of course that conversion rate coming through. Pabu going to back off at this bottom lane, but at least keep Froggadog there for the time being. Squidgy continues to clear Baron. Definitely a possibility, but like Mendrick said, a possible throw potential. When Abyss Red are so strong already, they don't have to, but I actually think they're going to go for this here.
They've got a lot of wards around, so it gives them a lot of pressure. And
wow,
the Spider Sense has tingled for Alpha Sydney, so they're going straight for it. This might be the turning point in the game.
Not yet. Alpha Sydney don't go too far in. Squidgy does a lot of damage on that Baron, so it's still available to them if they want to go back. However, they do go top, try and get something for it, but Alpha Sydney very smart and go for that mid turret. It's very exposed at the moment.
Well, it's just an open objective, and there's not much Abyss Red can do if they're trying to pressure one side of the, well, trying to pressure that Baron in particular, but Abyss Red instantly are responding. They're saying, no worries, you can take that open tower, we're going to take your open inhibitors. So they need to get back quick smart, and look at that, you've got Nidalee stopping the backs as well, forcing the Void Rush. I don't think there's much they can do here. They need to be quick. They need to be really quick about it.
Well, actually, it looks like the positioning overtakes him. Squidgy's approach, and there's the Unburrow on him. Teleports come through, and there's the culling, but it's not doing too much to T-Gun. Squidgy untouched in that backline, but there is the Death Charge. Now a bit of lag comes through, but that doesn't matter because Pabu, he beats the lag. He goes for Froggadog. He's zoning him so hard and launches into the fight. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, this is a weird team comp, but it's doing so much damage.
And they're just going straight for the inhibitors now. That is an ace there. May not be clean. Squidgy may be down, but they've got more than enough damage. And they smell blood. I think they're trying to bite a bit more they can chew. Come on, minions, tank some damage for them.
It doesn't matter at this stage. T-Gun just going to flash for the sake of it. And Abyss Red turn what looked like in a bad team fight absolutely towards the other side.
And it was just them continuously forcing the pressure as well. That was the big thing that they did there. They forced Alpha Sydney into a fight they didn't want to take. Alpha Sydney were waiting for this opportunity for them to go, okay, the planets have aligned, let's all press R, and we'll wipe them off the face of the map. That never happened because Alpha Sydney was so proactive at the start. Yeah. They were strong there, and then it's just a matter of them who were saying, okay, pressure here, pressure there, pressure here, you got to buckle at some point. And in that team fight they didn't have everyone they needed immediately for that fight. It felt like a little bit of a ping pong match happening with all the knockups happening there, but eventually they were just so far ahead of Abyss Red, they took the win.
Quite proud of Squidgy, who plays the Jit and gets away with it. Now, in that team fight, Squidgy was getting zoned off. You saw the depth charge come through and actually absolutely push him all the way back. However, no one touched Luch. Luch was just the person in there who was doing the most damage. I guarantee you could look at damage, or you could look at the DPS, or you could look at damage per game, and Luch would have it easy.
Oh, definitely, and it's something that he has because he has so much poke on top of that as well. So if you look into that, and he would have a lot of damage purely throughout the game just because of how much he was dealing to Lissandra. And then towards the late game as well, he's just such a menace in team fights with those soldiers all around. And if it's in a choke point as well that you get caught, where those soldiers happening, just look at the amount of damage, and you could just see it as well when he came through and pushed them through with the assault. They went through and sliced pretty much the fleeing members of Alpha Sydney. Their HP went down to half, and next thing you know, they were dead.
Now, old meta is sort of shifting a little bit as we see these comfort picks come out, or should I say, rapid, weird style points coming through on the side of Abyss Red.
There are changes.
That's right. There's some big changes in 6.4, and what you thought of the meta is not the same anymore. Poppy is still huge. Poppy's still great. However, Nautilus doesn't actually live up to the hype coming through. And I'm a bit surprised because Nautilus was our safe pick for the OCS in 6.2 and 6.3. Even Pabu himself went for the Nautilus.
Well, again, the other thing you have to look at is that Nautilus may be a safe pick. And he's great for an all-round team fight, but he's not someone that's going to be a massive threat towards the late game apart from his utility. So sure, he's going to have great wave clear. Sure, he's going to have a great initiate, but he's not going to single-handedly carry the team on the back of it.
No.
He's going to be relying on his team to actually be at a point where they can fight back with him. Because if you couple all of Nautilus's kit with everything that he has, that means that his team can excel and just really take a team fight. But they went ahead. There wasn't much the Nautilus could really do because he himself was behind. He's great even because when he's behind, he's useful. But when the rest of your team is behind, there's not much the Nautilus can do.
And Alpha Sydney falling behind early guarantees a nice win for Abyss Red right off the bat of tonight. As we come up to next, Chiefs Black and Abyss White will be facing off. Let's see if the sister team can make an impression on us tonight against a team that has not had a loss yet. Someone's got to swing them off the podium. Someone has to.
They have to have a bad day at some point in time.
That's
at
right.
some point it has to happen. Come on, Abyss White, show us what you got.
You never know what could happen. As we go to Game 2, ladies and gentlemen, there'll be a short break. And until then, Mendrix and myself, Asterix, will see you very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Oceanic Challenger Series. My name is Jake Hysterix, Aussie Penko. Joining you is Nathan Mendrix Mendez. And Nathan, I've just got one thing to say, is that I do iron my shirt, and I think it's looking pretty nice. So I don't know what's going on there. However, off the bat...
suspenders, man.
Man.
They're making it, it's getting a bit of a crease in there.
Let's go with that. let's go with that. After the bat of an awesome last game, I've just got to say that Alpha Sydney, not as strong as they have been. Of course, they're one of the top contenders. Now, Abyss Red suddenly showing us that Azir and Jin are just wildfire. That's it.
They're wildfire. Well, exactly that. And it's just purely because of those little quality of life changes they gave him, those big buffs and that little bit of extra, in terms of his damage, a little bit of movement speed, 5 movement speed. Doesn't seem like much. It really is a lot in League of Legends, which is a game of inches, especially at these high levels of play. And again, like I said, he's just so strong in terms of he's able to push towers now. On top of that, he can shred team fights if he's left alone. Mind you, he did have a death charge rolling down against him that last team fight. Well, he died. They got squidgy.
Yeah, but like...
But at the end of the day, they've put so much focus on Jin, and next thing you know, the rest of the team's wiping them off.
He's immobile anyway. I mean, like, it's really not going to matter.
He's going to get hit by the
You can
death
chase
charge.
Jin, it's really not going to matter. As we move to the next game now, and someone's got to strike the Chiefs off their podium, and who better to do it than Abyss White? Now, Abyss White have come through this competition with some random wins out of the ball, and of course, Monkey. Ooh, wow, very impressive jungler coming around. Blackstar, of course, top laner who I've seen before in the past. And versus Praedyth, doesn't do too bad. Zero and Rosie in the Chiefs Black, fantastic bottom lane. BC and Realapol as well, of course, showing a bit of competition. All in all, I got to say that these teams are quite evenly matched, and it's anyone's game at the moment.
Chiefs Black has the edge. That is just clear at
look,
the moment.
I'm not trying to. I'm trying to say both these teams.
Yeah, they're both these teams have the capability to win.
Do you remember what happened last week?
Yes, I do remember.
The underdogs came through and took it. All it takes is one wrong move, and I feel like early game has pretty much been the stepping stone for all these games.
That's true, and it is right in a game where, you know, when it does get towards that late game in League of Legends, one little misstep can throw the whole game, and in that point in time, you can either lose so much, putting the other team back, or they'll just outright win off it. What Chiefs Black are so good at is that they just seem to always be ahead in the game. So if they do make that misstep, they're just so far ahead it doesn't really matter. Or if they do make that misstep, they'll still end up winning the team fight because they've got that extra resistance, or they've got the extra attack damage that ends up blowing up a key member in a team fight. And you have to look at it, they just have solid laners across the board. Their jungler, he's very versatile. You put him on Elise, he's just going to land cocoons day in, day out.
I haven't seen Elise in the past couple of games. Of course, Zahi was always the one we saw on Elise.
He makes it work, man.
He makes it work. He makes Elise go very well, but Needly instead comes through, and Needly plays aggressive. General, I said I take back everything I said. General early game, not aggressive. I think that's baloney. I think what I said's baloney.
Well, he's been known to play a bit of Graves as well. So it's all about turning those switches off, knowing what your champion's good at, and then playing to its strengths. So if you're going to play Nidalee, you have to be aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to waste your champion's potential. Whereas if you're going to be playing someone like the Rek'Sai, you can sit back a little bit, be not as aggressive, and then just come into those really key moments for those umbos to make sure you secure kills for your team.
So we're moving to Champ Select now, and Poppy and Zed already taken out. Alistair, a bit of anti-definition comes through from Chiefs Black. Lysandra, pretty standard bans coming through.
I feel like every time you see Omni playing, Zed's going to be banned.
That's right. That's right. And for good reason as well. Omni on Zed is not something you want to see. Praedyth comes through with the last ban, waiting for something like a Gangplank or a Cogmore. Nautilus instead gets taken away from Blackstar. Praedyth hasn't actually fallen into that trend just yet. More seeking a Lysandra top or something like a Poppy maybe. I don't know, Mendrix.
Well, he's also really good at Fiora as well. The big thing is she's been hit.
She's
been hit this patch.
Last week, ladies and gents.
I'm going to be interested to see if Praedyth does it. He's mechanically amazing on him. There we go. There's a Cogmore.
So Cogmore doesn't get banned out. Instead, picked up for Chiefs Black. Callista goes instead, taking away from Zero. But Cogmore left open, and for a team that is just so well put together. Ooh, Cogmore. He's still good. He's still good.
Oh, he's amazing at the moment. He just will delete a team once he's got that Rune and Hurricanes. On top of that with the Ginsus. Once he has those two items, he will absolutely blow a team apart if you let him sit stationary in the right position. But interesting to see, Monkey's taking Elise away from Zahi. A bit worried there. They decided to go, okay, if you do take it, we'll pick up the Cogmore, but if you take the Cogmore, we're taking something away from you. And they also take the Bard away as well. Rosie has been playing a lot of Bard as well this entire split, so they decided to take a bit away from Chiefs Black, take a little bit and put them out of their comfort zone. Maybe make it, you know what, you guys are really good in these champions. Maybe that's due to your success. We're going to try and force a fumble out of you.
And I do actually appreciate taking away the Bard from Rosie, who was a menace with him last week. And I got to say, like, if Kennen comes out with Cogmore, I'm just going to be like, what? I'm going to say what? Instead, Morgana gets picked up. And I feel like Morgana, you know, I'm not going to say anything, but chances are probably going to be down there with Mr. Cog. But you know, we don't know that.
Well, it's a great pick to have of it because you want to protect the Cogmore, and the best way to do it is you throw that black shield on him. He basically becomes immune to all spells with that short period of time, which allows him to actually just blow his acid all over the rest of the team.
Mendrix.
What? I said acid.
Okay, that's all right. You're a funny guy sometimes. You can be quite funny. But
Thank you, Esther.
I wanted to see Leona come out and see a Bard mid or Bard jungle or Bard top. However, we're not going to see that this time. Dreams can be shattered. Don't let your dreams be dreams, kids. However, mine will stay that for the time being. Instead, Praedyth loses Fiora. Even with the minor, or should I say major changes, the Fiora still gets picked up.
She's done some minor changes to herself, but that item change really does hurt her sort of game flow. That's the big thing that's been hit by her. Oh, wow, so Quinn, that's a really interesting pick.
Jinx it. Don't jinx it.
That's a great pick into Fiora. If you want to shut her down, you use that because it means that now she needs to really win that initial team fight. You'll be forced to go into Titanic Hydra, so you're not going to be so strong into the late game as well because you need to have that extra sustain and durability when you go up against Quinn. And she is a bit of a terror at the moment. She's hit a few nerfs in the 6.5 patch, so very useful to have her in the 6.4.
That's right. So nothing wrong with picking up Quinn. Of course, that team comp already looking quite strong. However, they're doing the last picks for Chiefs Black, and a lot's taken off the board. However, there's some interesting picks here, and I like the LeBlanc, and I like the Quinn.
Very aggressive on the side of Chiefs Black, and it's amazing what they've got. They've got those two champions. You're going to have Gragas, and you're going to have Omni playing protection for the Cogmore. And while everyone's too busy trying to find that positioning error for Cogmore, trying to see if they can find a spot to actually engage onto him, you've got these two champions that can just pick everyone off.
Yeah.
So they're going to be sitting there trying to split off, seeing if they can find an opening there. Next thing you know, bam, LeBlanc assassinates you. But you can actually have those two tag team with each other. And that used to be the ultimate back in the day for her. And with those two covered across, they will absolutely blow someone up if they get caught out.
Instead, we see a bit of a hover of Lulu. Works a bit strange into this team composition, however, still works. They're playing with fire a little bit at the moment. And against a Quinn and a LeBlanc, I mean, what do you do here, Mendrix?
Their team's very squishy as well, so they don't really have anyone that's going to be a major tank. So having those two guys who are going to really just assassinate anyone that is caught out is going to be a bit of a problem. There's not going to be there's no major front line on the side of Abyss White. So they have a very pick-orientated team. You're going to have the Bard ultimate from downtown, sort of to catch one person out. After that, you've got the follow-ups with the binding from Lux, and on top of that, the cocoon as well. So if one person gets caught, hey, we can even drop a trap as well. So we're talking about one person really being locked down, even multiple people if they decide to layer their CC around. So Abyss White are going to be waiting for that sort of misstep from Chiefs Black to really then attack. Apart from that, they'll be playing extremely passively throughout the entire game. Whereas Chiefs Black, they've got those really two strong opponents that are really good at roaming as well. LeBlanc and Quinn, fantastic roamers. Especially with the ultimate change that Quinn has had in this new season, when she's able to actually jump on top of Talon and just sort of fly away.
And Lux, last pick up. I'm impressed with Quackham because Lux at the moment is just like your solo queue bird. That's what I see Lux as, is someone who does massive amounts of damage. However, when it comes time for team fights, I feel like sometimes they fall a little bit short.
She's got a lot of damage, and it is what she brings to them is that shield. The fact that she can actually help peel back everyone, throwing out those bindings, a bit of a slow, and on top of all that, massive wave clear. And what's also great about her, she's got amazing objective control.
Oh, yeah.
Once she's really stacked out on that ability power, you really need to watch out for when there is a Baron or when there is a Dragon, because if you miss Spite, guess what? There's going to be a massive final spark just blowing that objective up.
And it's happened before.
It has happened before.
We have actually.
I
seen
imagine
a Lux in
everyone
OCS.
watching now has experienced the Lux stealing something
But
from
we
them.
we have seen it in the OCS before. Lux has stolen. I think it was Dragon. I think it was a game of Fortnite, maybe, perhaps. I think it was Fortnite. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
The final spark absolutely obliterated Dragon. Easy objective control. They moved to Baron. I mean, like, it's something like that I mean, Lux is so fantastic at. The range on that ultimate is quite massive.
It's huge. It's almost like a Nocturne ultimate or a Pantheon ultimate just engaging, except the difference is she can remain. It's huge.
It's not
Have
as
you
big as
seen
Pantheon ult.
Oh, Pantheon ult. Okay, Pantheon ult level rank 2. It's the same size.
Well, okay, so Pantheon can ult from mid to top level 3, max level 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so level 1, right?
Level 1, it's
like
bit
half that. It's like half.
No.
So from like mid to halfway top.
Have you seen? Do you know how long the range is on that?
I know Pantheon.
It's like a sniper shot.
Yeah, well, like.
It's like as
like a
big as
Caitlyn.
Jin's ultimate.
Or Jin's ultimate's a little bit bigger, level 1.
Level 1, yeah, but it's still. Okay, we're talking about Lux
Ooh,
here.
this is great banter.
We're talking about Lux. She's got a really long ultimate. Deal with it.
All right. So Lux, a threat on the map, of course, and versus LeBlanc, who roams. I mean, both of them are going to be wide-eye threats towards top and towards bottom. However, no Callista there, so the kiting ability has diminished a little bit. Lucian, of course, I would, I always see him as a great kiter. However, instead, you see a Cogmore and a Caitlyn. You see Caitlyn and a Cogmore bot.
Hey, Kat was buffed. Katarina got a little bit of extra on her bouncing blades
but not
to
enough.
help her out a little bit. Probably not the best pick in competitive play because this is just going to be CCs all around. But these guys are just going to get into it now. Nice and simple wardings around, just feeling each other out, making sure no one's going to do any crazy invades.
Omni's there, just peeking his head. Not going to find anyone. Monkey continues to pop his head on the end of that ward. Don't actually think LeBlanc got that one, but pretty standard fanning. And I'm not sure if we're seeing a lane swap here, but in fact we are. It looks like Black Star's going to come down bot side. And instead, Beastie and Rilipol going for that top. So we do see a lane swap coming here. Not sure if Chiefs Black are actually aware of this one, Mendrick.
This is a really interesting swap. I mean, normally the advantage always goes to the side that swaps first. But the big issue with this is that you want to have Caitlyn harassing Cogmore. And Quinn's actually okay going into a 2v1 because she's ranged.
Yep.
So you're sort of giving an advantage to Cogmore because he's going to have an easy lane against a Fiora, which means he's going to get big quite fast, just getting his free farm. Whereas now what you have is Quinn, who's not going to get going as much as she'd like to, but she's still going to manage okay. So I don't really like this swap by Abyss White purely because they're giving sort of two boons on both sides. They're throwing their ADC, they're throwing their top laner under the bus. He's going to be there jungling away with Monkey at the moment. But then at the end of the day, you're also giving free farm room for Cogmore, which is just something I don't agree with.
Beasted and Rilipol so definitely have the range on this lane, but we're not too sure about Quinn at the moment. Rosie is moving down bot side with Zero. However, Blackstar has not yet to move into lane. Going to start jungling off with Monkey. Help him out a little bit. Get a bit of that wave clear coming through. And already we see the Bard moving towards that middle side. Actually going to try and interrupt Wolves, I think. Steal a bit of that experience. Misses it only just, though. And Praedyth goes and jungles with Gragas as well. So Zahi and Praedyth together and Blackstar and Monkey as well. He actually moves from that top lane position, so I'm a bit surprised that he moves, 2 minutes in.
Yeah, so he's going to find himself a little bit behind because he's going to be taking a bit more experience, whereas Blackstar, he's already a level ahead at the moment. And it seems they're sending Praedyth to go with Cogmore, see if he can snap a little bit snap a little bit more experience there. Now they're just going to do a trade here. So they're going to be trading the bottom lanes and the top turrets. This is the experience coming across from these teams. This is not the first time. This is not their first rodeo when it comes to a lane swap.
Oh, no.
So they're just making their moves correctly around the map. it's actually quite intelligent for Abyss White to try and speed up the game a bit so that Kog'Maw doesn't scale so hard when they start to get towards those team fights. So I see what they've done there. They're kind of going, okay, you know what? You guys have this great late game team just purely because you have Kog'Maw. Let's speed up this match. Let's do the lane swap. And now it's starting to make a bit more sense.
Chiefs Black already about half a turret ahead as they go for the tier 2. And Abyss White yet to knock that one down. So first turret goes down to Chiefs Black. And the trade comes off here, but a little bit far behind as it looks like Abyss White are going to go for tier 2 turret as well. Mid lane is not making too much of a budge. But at this point in time, I got to say that Chiefs Black have the better siege.
Oh, they definitely have the better siege. They've got 2 ADCs. You've got Quinn, and then you've got Kog'Maw. And Kog'Maw himself, once he's standing still, will do more damage than those other two, most likely combined. So they're really giving it free across the board. And Chiefs Black are even trying to push, bounce this wave back towards Praedyth. So any advantage that was gained for Blackstar being a level ahead might be lost if they make this bounce happen properly.
So Chiefs Black second turret, tier 2 of bottom side, but Abyss White are going to trade this off quite easily as it looks like Chiefs Black went back a little bit early to try and save this. Haven't got it just yet. Rosie's in now as well, but I think Blackstar's going to secure this one quite easily. Blackstar takes a bit of damage, but Zero is there. The Ignite goes off. I think they want to chase this one. Rosie's level 3, same level as Blackstar. Monkey's there for the cocoon, the flash over the wall, picks out Rosie, but a nice flash to dodge that counter. And nice again from Zero, who's in the fight. This is Kog'Maw getting first blood. Because Zero knows how much damage he does.
Okay, so it looked like Rosie had gone a bit too far there, but he managed to use his flash to get away. I'm not sure what Blackstar was thinking getting into that fight, and he ended up giving away a free kill to Zero, and that's someone you do not want to get going. And Praedyth, he was just like, oh, you guys are still there in the bot lane? I'm not going to let this bounce. I'm just going to push it all the way.
Is that Jax? Is that Jax bottom lane? Is that Jax I see? 5 minutes in? Tier 3 turret?
It could be Jax.
It's definitely Jax down in the bottom lane. And
one day.
At the moment, Chiefs Black pick up the first blood. A small gold advantage goes towards them. Turrets are even at this point in time. Mid laners are not budging. However, both top laners, you see a little bit of a difference. Serrated Dirt comes for Praedyth, but the pickaxe for Blackstar looking in the jungle, and the item hasn't been built yet for Monkey. But the Tracker's Knife goes forward as a flash comes out from Quackham, a bit predetermined. Omni doesn't actually have anything to follow that up. The teleport comes for top, and now it looks like they're going to trade this off as a nice flash from Zahi. Comes off to Blackstar. Mendrix very impressed with Zero. Another kill goes to the AD carry, and they go for the top turret.
And Chiefs Blacks are just starting to show us how good they are at their rotational play. They knew they had the advantage in terms of the minions there. They knew it was going to force Abyss White to come across. And they used the fact that they used that advantage, the teleport perfectly, actually placing it on the minion that had aggro at that time. That locks the auto attack damage from the turret onto that minion, basically allowing a free dive to go across.
Beastie going to continue to push bot lane here. Rilafol gets taken out by Zahi, forcing a flash quite easily there. And wow, I gotta say the early game Kog'Maw, I mean, he's scaling. He's getting there. Definitely getting there, Mendry.
He's got the pickaxe there, which means he's going straight for the Ginsu's.
As you would.
There we go, he's picked it up. That's a really quick Ginsu's. That's at 7 minutes.
Wow.
My. So he's already going to be strong. That's his first initial power spike. So if there's a team fight that happens, probably look for it to happen in the next 8 minutes. Probably with some pressure in the mid lane, because that's what they're going to start working towards. They want to crack this map open so that we can just starve Abyss White out with this advantage that they've gained very quickly, might I add. And that Chiefs Black, can anything stop them?
Not at this point in time. Zahi is actually forcing the flashes out of a lot of members. Abyss White yet to make too much of an impression on the map. Missed the cannon, did he?
He just missed it.
He missed the cannon. Ooh.
Oh well. That's okay, he's winning the game at the moment.
Ooh, as Quinn would say, that's awkward.
Okay, you have problems with my puns.
Oh, but like, my puns are good.
Oh,
like,
yeah, okay. Yeah.
That was a good pun, alright?
Yes, it was.
Twas.
Twas.
It was.
Twas.
Ooh, fancy. I think Braideth can defend this bottom side though, Mendrix. I mean,
he's got some wave clear with that when he throws out the
has a
good
bit of
old
damage
throw
as
there.
well.
So he's got something there, and he's got support from his team now, so that tower will remain intact. Zero has frozen the lane there now, so he's sort of hit to the point where he's like, yeah, I've hit my initial power spike, but I still want my Runaan's Hurricane before we even start to do anything. So that's why it's sort of slowing the game now. Slowing the game down now, and he knows Chief Spikes have the advantage, so really they're going to be playing smart. It's up to Abyss White to capitalize on this fact that now they've essentially got one of their strongest players not active on the map.
Rosie going to help wave clear that one up. Zahi using a body slam, but 3 members strong of Chief Spike down bottom, neglecting that turret for Abyss White. They just want to even the phase here as a small gold lead continues to grow on the side of Chiefs Black. Abyss White moving towards this mid lane, but Omni very versatile as that LeBlanc, so don't expect a catch here. Blackstar moving towards that. There's the ultimate Mendrix. Wow. Oh, the final spark snipes Omni, and suddenly Abyss White have control of this mid lane.
And they just saw the opportunity. They're like, well, there's no one that's going to defend her. If we manage to get this actual ultimate off from Beastie, and Quacker manages to hit the mark with a final spark, she's going down because she's not the strongest champion when it comes to defenses. And they instantly move on it. And this is the advantage of having that pick team that Abyss White has. If you manage to land a decent snare, even if they manage to get away, you've got 2 snipers that can take them out. Quackham and Beastie, and straight away they didn't even need to catch him there. They just decided, hey, you know what? I've landed probably a little bit of damage onto her. Let's just blow our load and see what happens. If they're taking a massive advantage. They're back in the game.
Abyss White go for the dragon off the bat. Easy dragon coming through, and suddenly things don't look as great as they were for Chiefs Black. I was thinking that they were actually coming out on top on this lane swap, but mid turret going down 3 for 3. Only thing separating them at this point in time is Zero's ability to get those kills. So go for a second turret in the top lane.
So Zero started pushing. So I think he reached the point where he said, okay, my team's actually starting to lose objectives here. I don't want Abyss White getting back into the game. So he instantly started pushing after they saw that pressure coming out there. There's the wave clear. Look at the damage on that tower.
They're not even going to go for the final hit. Instead, they back off 4 members of Chiefs Black there. Omni still pushes mid. He hasn't really moved much from this mid position. He goes for magic resist first, Mendrix.
Interesting. So Abyss's Scepter is actually a very popular pick at the moment because it gives you so much in terms of lane. Where goes Zahi?
Oh my god, Real Pole! Sniped with an acidic ooze. Top turret's going to go down, and it just comes out of the bat, out of the blue, out of the ball. Whatever you want to call it, out of the blue. There we go.
So one misstep there from Rilapult. Zahi instantly jumps, and Zero, with all the damage he's managed to accumulate at this time, just snaps him up straight away. So very nice by Chiefs Black there to make sure that they're not going to lose too much of their edge, instantly taking out that good old objective in the Rift Herald there. So very smart of them to put pressure somewhere on the retreat, pick up a little bit extra along the way, just showing that you can be a little bit greedy as long as you've got the wards there. They do have that blue ward, oh sorry, the pink ward, nice and alone there, nice and blue in the red jungle, and with that there, they have all the information they need to go, yes, this is a safe Rift Herald, let's pick it up.
And Praedyth gets that one. Moves ahead a little bit, but no CS expectations coming through for the top laners who are both a little bit behind due to that lane swap. Instead, we see a mid laner such as Omni, who's a small advantage ahead. Although picking up the Abyssal Scepter, we see the Unholy Grail for Quackham. So both magic resist mid laners and make an impact. Ginsu's built quite a while ago for Zero. 7-minute Ginsu's is quite crazy. And just think that half this time ago, he was already well on his way. Recurve Bow starting to get built. Praedyth knows he's in trouble. Cocoon, wait for it. Flashes it just in case.
That was a bit of a preemptive flash.
That's right. He didn't want to get caught.
I felt he could have actually looked at it and decided, you know what, I can actually save my flash and be okay. But with that pressure, instantly Chiefs Black move towards the mid lane and take a good chunk of damage. Zero just so strong at the moment.
It's amazing. He just hits the turret for about 3 seconds. That's it. So Praedyth moving towards the bottom lane. Rift Herald going to try and save this turret. Monkey's there for a Cocoon. However, misses it this time. Rift Herald's there, but he's not going to use it to its full advantage. Turret goes down in the bottom lane. And suddenly it evens the score once again. Can't make heads or tails of these teams. They're just really trading off objectives at this stage.
Well, Chiefs Black are well and truly in control because the person that should be behind right now, the person who has supposed to have the hardest early game in the game, is actually ahead and is actually doing the best out of the team, very far ahead, and that is just a big problem for Abyss White. They've been showing us that they can fight back using their siege potential, actually taking instant picks and then just capitalizing, instantly taking that mid tower, instantly taking the dragon. So that's going to be their big way to make sure they remain relevant in the game. But the problem is that Zero is a ticking time bomb. He will get super strong. There's a reason why they call him a glass cannon, and he's got a lot of defense on the back of it purely because of Zahi and Rosie. They're going to make sure that he's going to be staying alive and blowing everyone up.
Crackham continues to farm the middle lane. Pretty passive between these two mid laners. Haven't seen too much out of them just yet. Zero there, just chilling. Just throwing out his city goose. However, Caitlyn, Infinity Edge, it's still going to make an impact. Still going to make a massive impact. Caitlyn with Infinity Edge, I think, first item. Very smart choice considering that Zero is getting so strong off the bat.
It's a great item for Caitlyn just in general, and it is a good rush. The fact that he was able to pick it up considering with relative ease is a good investment for Abyss White. But the big problem there is that she's got a lot of auto attack. Wow, that damage!
Oh my god! Okay, so this is when Alpha Sydney played Cogmore. This is what happened.
That illustrates the problem that BC has, is that he's got no attack speed at the moment. Sure, he's going to be packing a punch as he goes in, but he's instantly going to get blown up. Wow, there we go.
Explosive cast. Zero gets a 5th kill. And this expresses my interest for Cogmore players because it's still so strong.
Wow, and this is what we're talking about. If he makes one misstep and she gets in range with Cogmore will absolutely obliterate her, and that's just illustrated for us right there.
I think that turret's gone.
And he's hit that critical point where he's just so powerful now that everything's starting to fall. The infrastructure is just going down for Abyss White. Look at that gold lead. Roughly 6k ahead. What is that?
Done.
That is just...
disgusting damage coming through from Zero. Even when he doesn't have his W, look at this. He's destroying things. We're 15 minutes in, and the late game hyper carry has just turned into this early game predecessor of 80 carries.
Apex Predator on the map at the moment.
Oh.
And who would have thought it'd be the Cogmore at 15 minutes?
That's right. No one thought that was coming. If anything, I thought Omni or Quackham would make a massive impact in this early game. However, once again, both mid laners just split pushing, just trying to get picks. Not too successful either. Zahi being very, very aggressive. Going for the Spectral Cowl, so building up his tank stats already. Monkey as well. The Giant's Belt of Health. Looks like he's building towards either a Rylai's or maybe going for the Dead Man's Plate. I don't know. I feel like the Elise builds differ from time to time.
Yeah, that's true there. And he has got the, he's probably going for, a Rylai Scepter. Gives him a little bit of tankiness, a little bit of catching potential once someone's slowed. Whack him.
That's
in
Quinn.
trouble.
That's Quinn for you, forcing a flash over the wall for Quackham. Not going to chase it. Nothing going to happen.
And something I want to touch on is, what's Fiora been doing this entire time? She feels non-existent in these team fights. There's not much. She's died 2 times, so that gives you an idea. Just not enough presence on the map at the moment, and it's starting to show. Chiefs Black's rotational play is making sure she can't split push. She can't become that menace that she is.
Wow.
And what? That's not a dragon. That's a bird just being shot down.
Disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting.
Omni.
Oh, okay, take it back. LeBlanc's doing something. Omni burst Reeler Pole. Wow. Oh my God. He's
finished his Rene's Hurricane. He's got the Berserker Greaves.
That's right.
He doesn't have an attack speed cap, so it is just going to be crazy with Zero now that he's finished these 3 items. He's sort of hit his holy trinity to jump in there with having his boots, and that I actually would say his holy trinity would actually be the Blade of the Ruined King with the Runans, with the Ginsus. But, you know, at this point in the game, that is pretty much our holy trinity for him. And Chiefs Black just running away with the game. 6-1 at the moment.
I don't know what's going to happen here as Monkey takes not enough damage. Okay, there's Zero. There's a nice Tempered Fate as well, but the repel gets
all
Monkey
they did
out
was stroke his ego. They created a statue for him at that moment.
That's right. That's exactly right. And Zero took 1 hit with Omni. That's all it took. He's actually front-lining this. Oh, sorry. Zahi's there, but I'm sure he'll just walk ahead anyway. Does not really care. 3 items strong on Mr. Zero. Caitlyn yet to build the second one there. Beastie struggling to go into the rapid fire cannon, I believe, unless he goes for the static.
He could probably go for Shiv now, and I think he'd want to get Shiv immediately because at the moment he's in damage control mode. He wants to make sure that these guys can't push in and take these very, very necessary inhibitor turrets. Because if when they go down, that's Chiefs Black's game 1. That's all they need to worry about. Because their main siege point is going to be 0, and add to the fact that you do have a lot of wave clear on the side of Abyss White, it's going to be hard for them to crack that base. So they really need to... that was very cheeky of him there. But that being said, they need to crack this base fairly early before Abyss White gets to that point that they can clear the waves effectively. So an early Baron probably on the cards for Chiefs Blacks just to make sure they can actually crack this base, crack that nut, and take an early game.
Now Praedyth still flying around the map here. Actually see him pick up a Hex Drinker.
You do have a very magic damage focused team, apart with having the Bard, Lux, and the Elise. So picking up some early magic resistance would be good. If you take a look at your attack damage dealers, they seem to be doing a bit hard at the moment. Obviously, Beastie's still gonna hurt, but Fiori, she's not really the biggest threat at the moment. All she's got is a Titanic Hydra.
And that Titanic Hydra hasn't done too much work for us. Zero going to pick up that Scuttle. Move back towards the middle lane. He's just looking for an opportunity to get another kill at this stage. Going to walk past a ward though, so... Oh god. It's just, look at it. Look, this wave, I count 1, 2, yeah, not even 3 seconds for that whole wave.
Immediately gone. And as you can see as well, he's also picked up the Alacrity Entrant as well. Decided, okay, guess what? I've got enough damage. Wow, jumping onto Beastie.
Everything goes onto that Caitlyn, who's now having a very, very bad day. The spew comes through, and Zero picks up yet another kill.
And Chiefs Black, realizing where their weakness is, they're very magic resistance focused at the moment. So if we instantly blow up their attack damage carry, the chance we get it, we're probably going to be fine in any team fight. And instantly going for that early Baron, as I mentioned, they really need that tool to break through Abyss White's wave clear. Once they pick this up, they'll probably group mid straight away.
No one can stop this Baron unless Blackstar is confident. So they pick off instead, and now they've got a caught Monkey and Blackstar. The Fiora trying to run away, but Zero's just so huge at the moment. Godlike indeed, picks up a double kill. And this, I just don't know what you do with this Cogmore. 20 minutes in the game, 8 out of 9 kill participation, and the gold lead is expanding towards Chiefs Black.
Abyss White need to get control of their jungle. Once they have that control, it gives them the options to get the picks. But Chiefs Black playing this so smart. Look at the wards in that topside area. They know they're saying right now that we need this Baron. You are not going to have control of your jungle because I know you're going to try and pick us off. And just by keeping that control, that's it. Abyss White are sort of handicapped. They're trying to fight with their hands tied behind their back. Chiefs Black playing this flawlessly.
Absolutely, and I almost thought this was going to be a 15-minute game when I saw Praedyth on bottom side. He hasn't continued to split push. Instead, he's just roaming around the map with Zero, getting picks. And Zero with 8 kills goes for the Hex Drinker instead of finishing his next item. Instead of going for the Blade of the Ruined King, something a bit more predetermined. Oh, Mendrix, almost. Whoa. Oh, that's done.
He's gone.
That's
nice
it.
ticking.
Omni, another nice pick coming through.
And I do like the pickup of the Hex Drinker as well on Zero, because he knows his major threats are going to be Quackham and Monkey catching him out. So if he gets the Hex Drinker, that gives him just that little bit of extra durability to survive that and make sure he can just go, you know what, you guys are going to be strong.
Oh, the final spark almost steals that away.
Close.
Instead, Graga secures that.
Close.
Zahi gets taken out instead, so 4 members on Baron. Wow.
Far out Omni. He's like
still
a
huge.
mini Cogmore, just blow you up in a
I
little
wouldn't
bit
even
of
say
burst.
mini. I think he's absolutely huge at the moment. He's got 2 items. He's going to go... He's got the Dark Seal. Okay.
Okay.
So he's
When
confident.
did that happen?
He's confident. He
He's
snuck that
definitely
in.
confident.
Look, he snuck that into the back. You look at the back there. You can see the Dark Seal
He
hidden
thought,
there.
yeah, I'm starting to get kills. So why not? It's a good time to do it.
Oh.
Oh, beautiful.
Forces a flash. Quackham almost gets taken out there. But almost 3 items. Omni. Rabadon's coming up quite soon. Whereas Quackham, I think Rabadon's might be the next item. However, might go for the Void Staff instead. Not too sure what she can do at this stage.
He's got a lot of options to him. He could even go for a Luden's Echo if he wanted to. Just give him a little bit of extra movement speed, make it a little bit easier for him to assassinate. There isn't that much magic resistance on the guys that he really wants to focus on at the moment, so he doesn't need to get a Void Staff immediately. He can just keep on building ability power, make sure these guys can't do anything because they're going to be worried blowing their flashes constantly. And it's just one of those moments where Chiefs Black is just making sure they keep their stranglehold on Abyss White, make sure they can't get themselves back in the game, continuously denying those resources available from them. And as long as they don't get picked off, this is going to be an easy game. So Chiefs Black really really pushing on through. They've got the Baron, they've got everything they need now, just need to group up.
Solo Dragon comes from Praedyth, secures that quite easily. Now the Baron buff comes through, he's backed off. Actually quite...
I love watching him actually move the bait. Oh, look how fast that is.
Look at that. Look at that. And first turret and second turret in like 7-8 seconds. Pretty good to have a Quinn on your team. The split pushing is immense. And especially that mobility around the map. I mean, Zero is not the only one you have to look out for. Continuing to push this top lane. Zero goes into the Bilgewater Cutlass. Very, very close to Blade of the Ruined King.
Those traps are a little annoying.
A little bit, but
oh, never mind. I've got a Morgana.
That's all right. That's all right. Spell Shield going to come through. Zahi not going to go on the rest of them. Zero just waiting there patiently while Praedyth split pushes bottom. I think he's actually got this unless he can force Blackstar out of lane. He goes for the mark, doesn't find it. Instead, Blackstar flashes out. Now Omni's mid as well. Zero's still top. Chiefs Black trying to encircle this base. Abyss White can't do much about that. Bottom turret goes down. Inhibitor is now open. Chiefs Black, I think, are going to push into this base very soon. Mid turret goes down as well.
Chiefs Black are taking everything at once. They've spread themselves thin. Abyss White can't respond.
Zero just needs to get his hands on that turret. There it is. There it is. 2 shots later. And Zero, not sure what's going to happen top side, but Blackstar tries to defend this inhibitor down bottom. Praedyth's going to continue attacking that one. Ooh, Mendrix. Final spark, there's the final spark, and Rosie flashes out, the repel's up, and Monkey's trying to get out. Zero gets stunned, very luckily. In fact, there is the ultimate, and Omni takes out that backline, so he's well deep. 1 for Zero trade, but all the inhibitors are going to go down. Actually, I think Zero's going to back out, so bottom inhibitor still up and about.
Chiefs Black got what they came for. They've well and truly cracked the base. Now. They don't need to worry about this observed wave clear team just stopping them, keeping them turtling back as they slowly get back into the game. That's not going to happen now. One more inhibitor left to go. They're so far ahead in gold. They're actually 13k up at the moment, which is ridiculous to be at the 25-minute mark. And Zero, he's a monster. 8-0-1. I wouldn't be surprised with this back if he picks up his Blade of the Ruined King. There it is.
There it comes through and actually goes for the serrated Dirk as well. He has that much gold. 11 for 2, and like Mendrix said, the gold lead is a massive for Chiefs Black. 9 turrets to 4, and they've got the second dragon in the pocket. Not too close to the third, however, when it comes up, I mean, the map control at the moment tells the story. Praedyth has gone for the Zeal. I don't know what he's picking up for his third item, however, Blackstar goes for the Phage. Might be going for the Black Cleaver. A bit more damage to come through, but Praedyth not doing too much in this game so far. I'm a bit concerned for Abyss White's top laner, who can't really get in the fight at this stage.
There's not much he can really do. He seems to walk in there. Zero is instantly blowing him up. That riposte now, even though it's been reduced, it's not going to do much against someone who has such consistent damage. You're looking for someone... Blackstar, there you go.
Yeah, okay. So Praedyth takes out another... Oh, his first kill, actually. Omni. Well, no, meanwhile, bottom. There goes the inhibitor. Double kill goes over to Praedyth. And at this point in time, it's not looking too good. Zero gets the inhibitor, and that's all inhibitors broken. Chiefs Black are in this base, Mendrix.
They're steamrolling at the moment.
They're absolutely coming through. Omni almost bursts Reelapole. Final spark comes through, but I'm not too sure. I think this is going to be game. Zero looks for the... Oh my god, I can only imagine the horror at that fountain. The children. Think of the children, Zero. Think of the children.
Think of Abyss White.
Omni takes out another kill, and you can't do anything against a Cogmore who gets 3 kills before 10 minutes.
And that's all she really wrote there. There was no black and white here. There was only black. And that game.
God.
Chiefs Black continue to be this dominant force.
That's right. Undefeated.
Undefeated now, 6-0. Abyss White, they tried. Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. But however, got to give it to Abyss White to sort of match that lane swap. I feel like a couple of teams in this competition wouldn't get the feeling there, and they wouldn't really
take the risk for
That's
it.
right. That's exactly right. And so
I understood where they're coming from. I still disagree with it purely because you normally lane swap to either A, give your lane give your lane an advantage, and for some reason it felt like they were giving both their lanes a disadvantage at the same time. Maybe they felt they just couldn't compete outright with Chiefs Black's bot lane just because of how strong they are, and that's why they decided, okay, let's initiate this lane swap. Let's go for that now. But in the end, Chiefs Black, no worries. You guys are going to lane swap. This is going to be an easy farm lane for a Kog'Maw. Instantly, their top laner reacted, going, yep, I'm going to go straight to jungling away. Just did the lane swaps, easy pushes across the side, and they did exactly what they wanted to do. And that early kill that was given to Zero, just so unnecessary, just sort of slingshot.
Early snowball. I mean, if you speed the game up, I guess then again you're going to speed up the Kog'Maw if he gets fed. I mean, denying sort of early mid game.
It makes sense because you deny the farm from him. So
that's right.
You speed up the game, all of a sudden a team's grouping, and Kog'Maw really hasn't found his feet yet to actually be that menace that we all know he can be in the late game, which makes sense on paper. But Chiefs Black exactly moved around perfectly, got advantages where they shouldn't, and next thing you know, the game was just on this massive snowball going down. It was an avalanche in Chiefs Black's favor.
That's right, and got to give props to Praedyth as well, who on the Quinn impressed me because that split pushing bottom was really what took the attention away from Zero. So suddenly Zero gets this top lane farm. He gets so much advantage. And people forget about him because Praedyth is there pushing inhibitor turret at 10 minutes.
And the problem is there's not much Blackstar could have done against Praedyth as well.
That's right.
He's Fiora. She's been a menace for so long, but she's been hit hard this patch. And Quinn hasn't been touched yet. And she's been this big terror. She's known as a lane bully, especially against those melees. And but from that point, you're just causing so much pressure in that bot lane that it was easy for Chiefs Black to push everywhere around. Because they spread themselves thin. You think they'd spread themselves thin, instantly group, take out where the strongest point is, 3-on-5. They couldn't even do that. There was just too much pressure.
The immobile Kog'Maw actually walking around the map. So the Kog'Maw that not actually that fast, and Zero just makes him look like he's a Quinn. So, I mean, honestly, there was so much loose activity around Zero. I feel like there could have been a tighter grip on that Kog'Maw early, but instead the attention went other way.
But the problem is as well, they had this really pick-focused team. You can't exactly have this massive grip on Kog'Maw when there isn't anyone that can engage with. You're actually looking to catch him out. So how can you, jump on top of him when you don't have, say, a Nautilus or a Braum or someone that can actually lock him down for that short period of time where they can take him out? And that's exactly what happened. Kog'Maw just positioned well. He was able to farm. He got what he needed. And Chiefs Black just took that game.
Showing the experienced team as we see another kill. I'm going to call it a kill. Another win on the board for Chiefs Black, and well-deserved. Abyss White falling to that one. Coming up next is Legion Gaming and Sentinel Esports. Rogi and Preacher will join you for that one. And to finish off the night, Fornot and Legacy Genesis. Oh, Fornot and Legacy Genesis. It's giving me, what do you call it? Butterflies, man.
It is going to be a great match. I can't wait to watch it.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for Mendrix and myself. But make sure you stay tuned for some epic games of the Oceanic Challenger Series. My name is Jake Asterix, Aussie Penko. With you is Nathan Mendrix Mendez. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Oceanic Challenger Series. My name is Max Rogi for Foglia. Joining me is Jimmy Preacher Fu. And after the lovely hysterics and Mendrix just finished off what was a very one-sided game, we'll be bringing you a few of the little closer games this afternoon.
I'd love to see some closer games coming in, you know, sort of these games that you can't predict going in beforehand. And we've actually got one to start off with, for us anyway. We got Legion versus Sentinels.
Yeah.
That actually looks to be quite promising right now because Legion, even though they're yet to pick up a win, they're on the up and up. They've actually done a lot to their roster. Last week they changed it all up with 5 new members. Maybe after a week they've broken in the team and they're really starting to play together as a unit now rather than 5 individual solo players. Also, they finally got a coach in, so maybe they can get some strats going on, you know, some metagame going and rely on more than just their mechanics.
Yeah, after a shaky debut, they might have that one voice to unify them all. But on the other side, Sentinels, they have a little bit of an interesting change of their own, don't they?
Speaking about that unifying voice, they do. They've got just a temporary sub. Xiaomain will be in the jungle for them. It's not quite permanent, but he did come in from the open ladder.
Sure.
He traditionally has been a mid laner, so moving into the jungle, I'm not too sure how his champion pool translates. Maybe we'll see a lot of the Nidalee full AP just sniping people, but otherwise, they brought him in mainly because he is a shot caller. He makes all the decisive calls, he makes all the early game plays, and he just decides how his team go into it.
Now, this is such an interesting dynamic here. We've said that Sentinels, they're lacking that uniting voice. So if Xiaomain can bring that together, it will give them the life that they need. And then Legion, last week, looking shaky with 5 new players. That's Kinnaid, Hulk, Matrix, Mundane Melon, Visionary. They got a new coach, so that can hopefully tie them all together. Then on the side of Sentinel Esports, you got Sazu, Xiaomain, Illusion, Miratram, and Believe.
I definitely believe that they can do
No.
right now.
Oh, no.
I just took some inspiration from Mendrix. He was going off all of the cheese black puns, and now I'm going off name puns. No. I actually disagree with name puns. They're so bad. But anyway, yeah. I do just want to see how they play now that they've got the deciding voice again, because they came into this competition pretty strong, actually. Sure. And then it sort of broke down a little bit when they had a few troubles with their roster.
Yep.
They lost a few of their key players, which not only means that they didn't have the synergy going in, but also they didn't have that uniting voice, like we was just saying, to really guide them throughout the game. So with a role like the jungle being the new shot caller, anything can happen because it just blows the door wide open.
So how much pressure is going to be put onto Xiaomain being in this position? Transferring from his main role mid to jungle is already quite a substantial change, but then he's got the whole weight and pressure that he needs to be the one to make these calls. What's he going to have to do here?
Well, a lot of pressure is actually going on to him, but then again, he's always been a very vocal player. Everybody knows him as this sort of person who's very outspoken. Even in solo queue, when you're not on comms with him, he will just type a lot. He'll say, no, mate, I'm going to do this, and you're going to follow me, and there's really no argument about it. And it turns out that a lot of his calls are actually really good. So, the biggest problem for him coming in is his champion pool, because he is traditionally, like we said, a mid laner going into the jungle. That does limit a lot of his options. He might know a lot of jungle picks. Jungle is very decisive in the current meta right now. Just getting your bot lane ahead, getting your top lane ahead as well, and just making sure that your mid lane goes even at the very least. It's very important. But if he manages to pull that out, then hopefully his mechanics won't be too shoddy going into the mid to late game.
It'll be interesting to see if he goes for something a little bit safe like that Rek'Sai or that Gragas, or maybe tries to flex it a little bit here with a Nidalee or a Lee Sin, maybe try to style on these guys. Who knows, really?
It's all in the air. We don't know his jungle pool that much. I don't think anybody really does because he's such a strong mid laner. He likes to play a lot of mid lane in solo queue, but I just love to see what he pulls out.
And then on the other side, Legion, they're yet to pick up a win. They're thirsty for their first one of the OCS here tonight. Their debut, like we mentioned, was a little bit shaky. But let's see if after a couple of weeks of playing together, they've got that coach to hopefully mesh what was missing. It's going to really be up to them to prove themselves tonight.
Yeah, and if you just get somebody from I'd like to call it an eagle eye, just looking over the whole map
Yeah.
rather than players just sort of getting their own tunnel onto their own lanes and sort of missing out on details on the rest of the map.
Sure.
Then maybe that can be the thing that pulls them together. Also, a lot of strategy and picks and bans. You can get a lot of flex picks happening. You can get a lot of mind games, sort of like we saw last week with the Nautilus. We just thought he was top, and all of a sudden they pull him out for support between Abyss Red and Abyss White. So, I just love to see that happening.
Yeah, love the style picks here and there. I'm really excited to see just how they're going to go about winning. Their picks were very solo QS. We saw a Lee Sin last week that he got. Let's not sugarcoat it. Hulk got dumpstered. So hopefully they can kind of put that solo queue mentality behind them. Think, what are the top teams playing? How are they playing it? And how can we incorporate our own individual and unique play styles into these team compositions?
And hopefully what we saw last week happen to Legion won't happen again, because last week they barely played with each other for an extended period of time. And Hulk, once he gets invaded on, it's really a team effort to make sure that... Well, it's a team effort for the other side to invade, because you need all of your lanes pushing to take all the pressure off of your jungler invading, but it's also for you, as the person who's getting invaded on, a team effort to sort of repel them from your jungle. And when you don't have that synergy early on, then you just can't do it. So a champ like Nidalee can just invade your jungle and kill you so many times, at the very least pressure you off of your objectives. It's not a great life to live, but hopefully with some more team synergy, it shouldn't be happening this week.
Yeah, it was very Season 2 Diamond Prox just running straight into the jungle, taking every single camp in his sight, and he always accredited it to how well his team pushed those lanes. So that was definitely, we saw something last week. So maybe Legion, they could have learnt something, maybe picked up a few tricks here and there. Earlier on, we saw that Jhin. I really want to see Jhin again. They look like they had so much fun casting that curtain call and following those shots. I want to get some Jhin action in as we are underway with the pick and bans, but straight away Poppy gets taken off the table.
Of course, and Poppy is just that champ who really denies the other champion. She's got all that disengage with her ultimate, and she has that deny for engages with her just... No, you can't dash into my team. Yeah, and that's just so flexible. You can take a top, you can take a support, so taking it off means you don't have that disengage tool.
Yeah, the artillery has been taken out in the form of Kog'Maw last game. That was a doozy and a half. Despite doing so well, it's actually LeBlanc who was able to top that damage chart. So Kog'Maw, he did a great job, but LeBlanc was definitely the main contributor in that damage. And following up, that is going to be Braum taken away on the side of Legion Gate.
Braum is just really strong. He stands in front of your ADC and he just says, okay, I'm going to take all the damage. My ADC isn't going to take any of it. But looking back to the Kog'Maw ban, yeah, looking at last game, that was just so strong. And the problem with that is that you really need to exploit Kog'Maw's weakness, which is his early game. He barely does anything early. 1 point in his W, 1 point in his E. That's not enough to slow you, enough to stop you getting to him and killing him. But they just accelerated the early game such that they didn't have him anymore. So they're going to take Kog'Maw off because he's just so hard to play around.
Yeah, so 2 more ADC bans straight away. We see Kalista, the other hyper carry on the other side of the spectrum there. Then Corki as well, both a mid laner and a bot laner extraordinaire. That's going to leave a lot of tier 2 ADCs available, so we might even see a Jhin.
We could definitely see a Jhin. I mean, if he's not banned out here, which I highly doubt he will be because he's not a priority ban, then we could well see a Jhin on the map, but it's going to be in Italy. They're going to take it off Hulk, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just quite surprised about that because Hulk hasn't been a renowned Italy player in the past, so maybe he's picked it up recently. I'm not too certain about that.
Definitely just a safe ban. If you're playing League of Legends at this level, you got to be damn sure your jungler knows how to play Nidalee. So that's definitely just a safety ban. And Alistar, the boys mentioned it earlier. What doesn't Alistar do?
Alistar does everything.
Yeah, exactly right.
And right now, there's a huge debate between professional support players between Alistar and Braum. Some say that Braum is better than Alistar, and other people valiantly defend Alistar and say, no, he's just the best support in the current meta. Once you take Braum off, what do? You just pick up Alistar, don't you?
Yeah, so picking up that Sivir and Fiora. A bit of a risky play, blind picking that Fiora. That gives Legion Gaming a lot of time to kind of devise their team composition here. So Sivir, a recent change, all her ricochets can now crit, so that gives her so much more presence in a team fight. The Braum was banned, so it's not going to be blocked immediately.
And Sivir's always been this really strong pick, if for nothing else, then for her ultimate. So now she's had some problems recently where you just couldn't lane as her because
Sure.
all the strong ADCs such as Lucian, Ezreal, they would just completely kill her. And Kog'Maw even, she didn't counter Kog'Maw hard enough for to make the matchup worth it. And in the end, I'd rather have a Kog'Maw just murdering everybody on the enemy team than running fast into my death into a Kog'Maw. So, yeah, but now that Kog'Maw is off, they pick Sivir. And that's a really nice pick because all she needed was that little buff to push her over the edge.
Yeah, then on the side of Legion, going for that safe pick in the Grog, who's definitely fallen back into popularity after a few little tweaks here and there. Following that will be the Trundle. Maybe support. No, we have the Alistar. That's definitely going to be in the top lane here against that Fiora. So, bit of a traditional lane. Just these... You've got Trundle, the guy who can just steal all your stats, just sap everything away. Then Fiora, the Grand Duelist herself. Didn't do much last game, but it's in a different hands, different team, different time. Let's see if Zazu, we'll get there, guys, can make it a little bit different here. Elise going to be picked up for Xiaomane, so said he favors those AP champions, at least not too far off one herself. And Thresh going to be picked up for Believe.
Going back to the top lane matchup, I love this matchup for
Sure.
Kinnaid right now because Trundle, the biggest problem that he has is that he's not very mobile. He can move a little bit once he puts his defile ground down, and he just runs really fast on it, but otherwise he hasn't got dashes of any sort, so that's his biggest problem. Fiora, on the other hand, no range whatsoever. She needs to get close to you to do damage, and once she does, you just out-trade her. And in a melee matchup, in a straight just clubbing each other, guess what? The person with the club wins.
Yeah, she's brought a knife to a club fight here, though. So Melon and Visionary going to be locking in the final two picks. That's going to be Ezreal down in that ADC role and Lux to round it out in the mid. So it's going to be on to Sentinels. They gave up the counter pick in the top lane, but now they have a chance to sum up what Lux brings to the table and maybe answer that. And Victor, no stranger to wave clear of his own.
Not at all. And we've actually seen Victor's do very well. Unfortunately, changes it from Victor to Lulu.
Sure.
Lulu also does very well into
Yeah.
Lux. I mean, the biggest problem with Lux that we've seen over and over again is the fact that even though on paper she has very high AP ratios, it takes a really long time for you to cast all of them because not only do you have a long cast animation, but the particles, compared to a lot of other mid laners, burst mid laners, they're just too slow. They take forever to move to them, but they go back to Victor, and we've seen this Victor versus Lux matchup. Victor usually wins every time because once you finish off your Hex Core, that's enough damage to just outright burst Lux 100-0.
It's definitely going to be an interesting matchup as we see Victor going to be locked in there. So all our spiel about why Victor's good against Lux isn't going to go to waste as they lock that one in. So we got the team compositions. We got Trundle in the top, Gragas and Lux in the mid and jungle. Then down in the bot lane, Alistar and Ezreal. Then on the side of Sentinel Esports, it's going to be Fiora in the top, Elise in the jungle, Victor in that mid lane. He's taken himself Cleanse. Both mid laners actually have Cleanse locked in for the time being. Then you have the newly updated Sivir and the classic Thresh.
Very classic. I mean, you can't go wrong with the hook, right?
No,
you
no,
hook
no.
him in, you lantern your people to safety. He's just an all-round amazing champion.
Yep.
He gets into the middle, he drops the box down, and then nobody can move on the enemy team. I actually quite like this composition coming out of Legion, and you can really tell that they have a coach sort of metagaming this, you know, having the having strategies coming into picks and bans, because before they really just picked whoever was convenient. Now take a look at this. We're going to see it again. We're going to see double snipe.
Yeah, pretty much anyone that gets hit by that Lux binding is going to meet an Ezreal Q, an Alistar Q, and then the barrel back into your whole team. So they've pretty much got a lot of tools. It's all going to be on Lux, whether she can hit that light binding to set everything up.
And it's going to be very hard, though, going into Victor, because not only does Victor counter you, he also took Cleanse. So if you hit that binding and he's fast enough on his toes, then he just cleanses it, and you didn't really bind him.
It's really going to be up to Sivir as well, Miratram. If he can get those spell shields off in time, it completely negates anything that Lux can bring to the table. So Lux is going to have to be very quick and very concise with those light bindings, maybe from Fog of War, do a little bit of clearing here and there of the wards.
Combined between that cleanse and also the spell shit, it's going to be so hard to pick out the side of Sentinels. Sorry. I just mind.
That's right, Legion Sentinels. They're both very similar teams, having a lot of different players coming in and out of the roster. Both kind of the bottom of the tables here. but they're both hungry for this win.
They definitely are, and I really want to see Legion really give it their all because they've got a new lineup, they've got a new coach, they've got to say, this is a breath of fresh air, we need to start winning now.
You got to commend them for never giving up, putting in all the effort it takes. Even when you're in the bottom of the leaderboard, you have to keep confident, you have to keep thinking, we can do this, there's a reason we've made it this far. Sure, we're not going to knock Chiefs Black off anytime soon, but let's be realistically, guys, who can? But they can still avoid the bottom of the tables.
Anything can happen in this tournament, but yeah, I would like to see them come back into this tournament with hopefully with a win tonight. I mean, I'm not biased, but I do like the good underdog story, and I do want to see it come true.
Yeah, so I'm still excited to see whether or not they take advantage of Xiaomain. They know how daunting it can be new to the jungle. Hulk experienced that a hell of a lot last week, so maybe he's looking to get some revenge. The Gragas, he's no stranger to early duels.
Gragas just wins all the early duels with his damage reduction, with all of his CC, and with his early game burst. He actually has quite a bit of burst. If you don't have items, and he doesn't have items either, he actually does a surprising amount. So if he catches you out and you're on about half health, then he could easily burst you down if he lands everything. Yeah,
not to mention that 2-second slow at all ranks is amazing, as we see 5 members straight away from Sentinels grouped up. Kaneda is going to have to book it out of here.
He has to get out there quick, smart, and that looks like they're just going to trade vision.
Sure.
Sentinels are going to get vision everywhere along the top side to spot out an early lane swap, but so will Legion.
It looks like the Visionary doing just that, so acquiring vision for his team. The solo invade. He's lucky no one stayed behind, but they got 5 men in sight. They know that Alisar is safe to get those wards up and available. Looks like Trundle was able to take out one for himself, though.
Miratram is actually moving a little bit too early for my liking, because it means that she's going to be spotted out straight away. If you take a look right now, hopefully Legion should be pinging, or at the very least in their comms, shouting frantically to each other, Siva's in the bot lane, Siva's in the bot lane.
If any measure, I think Believe recalled on that ward that Kanade put down.
They definitely did. So I'm not
they should have complete knowledge of how this is going to go ahead, as we see in the top lane. Maybe even a double jungle here, and maybe just helping his buddy out.
Yeah, and this is going to be a little bit bad on the side of Legion, because they actually decided to leash Hulk instead of taking the bot camp for themselves. Sentinels are actually taking quite a bit of damage. Thresh, not the tankiest support in the game at the current moment, so he's going to be quite low, but he should be able to heal himself up with that Relic Shield, no problem. It looks like they will get that experience buff, though, which means they will get that early level 2. And Siva with level 2, she does a lot of damage.
Yeah, Siva just going to want to constantly clear the wave, rinse and repeat. That's what she does best at this stage in the game. Not really looking for any fights, but hey, that works straight into how Ezreal players love to play Ezreal. Just farm up, get that tier as soon as possible, get back to lane and stack it. Because Muramana, it got a little bit of a change coming into 6.4 here.
It's much stronger now. Well, it's actually debatable, because some players say I was all on top of it. I had no problem toggling it on and off at the right moment. And other players say it's just a lot less management coming into the game. Because what it means is it no longer triggers on anything other than when you auto or apply on-hit effects onto champions. So for people who are a bit lazy, like me, who didn't really want to toggle things on and off, it's going to be a huge buff. But there are slight problems. Like, for instance, if you wanted to burn down a Baron or a Dragon, you can't do it quite as fast, but it's not a huge problem. It's a minor thing. That's just quality of life change.
Yep, good against champions, bad against minions. A short summary here by Rogian Preacher. Down in the bot lane, we see Melon and Visionary. They are a level behind, having not taken that early camp, so hopefully that doesn't affect them too much. Siva, not too much of a lane bully. She's just going to be focusing on killing those minions, as we see Xiaomain here just cleaning up his own blue buff. Done 100% full clear of his jungle as well.
And it's actually quite interesting, because these two junglers have opted for different starts. Hulk wanted the leash in the bottom lane, whereas Xiaomain sort of just started in the top and allowed their bot lane to get that level advantage for themselves in the form of the Gromp. They're going to not meet for a long portion of this game, because they're going to be on the opposite quadrants of each other. So if they ever decide to gank, it doesn't look like there's going to be a counter gank anytime soon coming in.
Yeah, Xiaomain just doing his best to get even more gold for himself. That early scuttler, a nice bit of coinage in the back pocket. Maybe we might see a little bit invade from Hulk. He's coming out here. He's gone back not yet to get any items. Just wants to keep film. As I say that, of course, he goes back. So he'll be going for his first back as Xiaomain. He's going to look for more, though, as we see down on the minimap. Looking for any camps that he can, getting in some deep wards. Might be a little bit too early to dive in Alistar, but I'll leave that to the pros to decide.
It's a bit too early, especially seeing as you haven't got any damage items yet. You still haven't gone back. But maybe he took a leaf out of last week's book and he decided to counter jungle Hulk. Because Hulk, when you put him on the back foot, it doesn't look like he does too much. However, though, his Gragas was banned out last week, and Hulk is just a massive Gragas player. I think Lee Sin was just what he wanted to do once Gragas was off, because it was more or less the same kit, just in a different form.
Yep.
Now that he's on his comfort champion, he might be able to perform much better.
Well, Kinnaid, you mentioned if they go on a straight head-to-head fight, the club always wins. But right now, the Rapier is doing a hell of a formidable job against Kinnaid here.
And that's really not what you expect, especially with Fiora. She got nerfed this patch.
Sure.
I think Mendrix mentioned it. She just doesn't... She's a shadow of her former self because... Xiaomain actually comes into the bottom lane for a gank.
The flay hits. Who are they going to go for? It's going to be Visionary here as a stun comes through. The Lantern is down to give Mirror Tram. The hook comes through. Visionary, he's in a lot of hurt. This should be first blood going over. Who are they going to give it to? It is going to be Xiaomain. They're not done yet as they want to go for Mel. The teleport is in the backline. Here is Hulk. He's going to get the double slow on to believe in Mirror Tram. Kinnaid is there. It's going to be, where is the Fiora? She needs to teleport down. Here she is. So a 4-man in the bot. That's only going to be 1 kill though. And that's going to be Visionary falling early on.
I just have to give props it, or maybe...
The ults go down. Are they just going to trade? Okay, they're just going to flex.
Oh!
Oh, the flash comes
Oh!
through. Attack. It bobs and weaves. Gets through and takes out Illusion. Matrix, you are a god, sir.
You can't flash the auto because the particle just follows you. And unfortunately, he got tagged by Lux's passive, so he dies in the end there.
Yep.
That was a really nice play by Matrix, though. It was a 1-for-1 flash burn, so neither of them will have it in the mid lane. That's a note to put down for both themselves and their junglers if they choose to visit that mid lane. But man, I just have to give props there to Xiaomain because he knew what we were talking about. He knew that if he decided to gank, there was going to be a huge disparity between him and the enemy jungler getting into the bot lane at the same time.
Yep.
And that was just the window that they needed to pull out that first blood.
Yeah, after what seemed like a massive team fight, only level 4 guys, there's going to be a kill apiece for either team and a 1,000 gold lead going over to Sentinels.
And that 1,000 gold should help out pretty strong because now Xiaomain can do a whole lot more on the map. And we were saying that maybe he was going to be a little unconfident coming in here as a jungler because normally he's a mid laner. He's known in the open ladder as a mid laner, but at least she's pretty much a mid laner, right? She's a caster half the time.
Yeah, those AP scalings are insane. Once you hit that cocoon and use every single move, it's just disgusting. But in the top lane here, Sazahu, I'll get there, guys, don't worry, is just bullying out Kinnaid here. Look at those minions. Kinnaid's lucky that Xiaomain hasn't made his way to the top side, or else he could have been denied this entire wave.
The biggest problem with Trundle into Fiora, and yes, there are problems with this matchup, not surprisingly, is the fact that Fiora can sustain.
Yep.
Her passive just gives her so much health back whenever she hits those vitals. And I think that's the only thing that she really needs to tip this into her favor, because she could just back off and choose not to fight Kinnaid. She's got that dash, as opposed to Kinnaid. Kinnaid can't really follow her if she decides to disengage. And when she wants to engage, she can, and she just heals up with her passive.
Yeah, so Victor ulti was used. Ooh, if that light binding has hit Illusion, would have been dead. So
He would have been just an illusion there, you could say. Not really a victim.
Looks like Xiaomain has made his way to the mid. Hulk, he wants something to go for this. He knows that Illusion has no flash, but he's just going to smartly back off as he does not know where Xiaomain is lurking.
Lucky for him because Xiaomain was waiting for the counter gank, though. Don't think Xiaomain could have done much because Illusion was on about half health and his ultimate was down. Matrix's ultimate was up for that, but Visionary gets caught in a box.
Oh, he has no ulti, no hope, and no escape as Believe gets that one. Melon trying to answer with anything, but the exhaust was just too strong as once again Visionary caught out of position, and you just can't have that happen when you're only level 5.
No, you can't, and Visionary was out in the lane far too ahead of Melon. Melon went back and bought Visionary was already there. So first of all, he got caught out 1v2, which was bad. But second of all, it was really good to believe to know his power spikes because Ezreal hasn't got any real combat stats yet. All he's got is a tier stacking up, so that's not actually going to help him while he's fighting in any duels, even if it was a 2v2. Pulled the trigger and managed to pick up that kill.
Yeah, so it looks like Hulk is just going for the makings of the poacher's knife. Wants those wards down. On the side of Matrix, he's building himself towards the Athene's Unholy Grail. Against Victor, you need that MR. It is so crucial, so he's going to be delaying an AP spike just to remain safe. But Illusion, he might be in a little bit of trouble here. Is Hulk just going to think the better of it?
But Xiaomain looks for something in the bottom lane as the hook misses Melon. That's fine, though. One thing to note, however, in this lane is that neither of these two lanes are going to go back anytime soon because they just got here. And that's actually really bad for Melon because he can't stack his tier. He's already out of mana as he gets caught out by
Melon
Xiaomain.
gets caught once again. He's so low. He gets the flash, but looks like they're onto Visionary now, who still has no ultimate, believe, does not have the hook available to continue the CC train.
And this puts Melon... Oh!
Illusion just gets 100-0 by Matrix, who, once that light binding hits, in the end, Illusion, he didn't take the cleanse, went for the ghost instead, and you got to question it at this stage of the game.
No, we were talking about all of the advantages that cleanse could have done for you, because if you get caught by that binding, which is not unrealistic because you're laning against a log, she's going to be throwing those out on cooldown whenever she gets that, as soon as she gets that mana regen item. He got caught out, and that was really his fate. Because Hulk, he didn't actually do anything in that. He was just standing there to make sure that Illusion didn't have anywhere to run. Because if you take a look, Hulk doesn't even have an assist on that.
Yeah. Sentinels still holding a nice 1,000 gold lead. It is all going to be up to Matrix on the side of Legions to keep his team in this. They want to wait for the Ezreal to stack up and get strong. But on the other side, they can't let Miratram run away with this lane. Already a CS advantage over his lane opponent in Melon, who's only got that Sheen and the tier. It's going to be such a long time before he's a formidable opponent here. You
don't want to let Miratram run away because Sivir does it pretty fast, doesn't he? But otherwise, he's already got two key components of Essence Reaver being built up. The only real counter to this on the other side for Melon is a Sheen. And like we were saying before, with this Ezreal versus any other ADC matchup who builds a BF item, usually an Essence Reaver first, Sheen on Ezreal doesn't quite beat out a BF Sword in trades. Because Sheen is just for your Q, BF Sword is for all of your autos.
Yeah, so it looks like Fiora in the top will be going for the life-stealing Hurricane rather than the health-scaling Hurricane here. Titanic. Looks like Hulk in the bot lane here. Might want to make something play here. Goes for the flash. Oh, but the perfect spell shield. But is it going to be enough as the lantern comes down? Perfectly played by Miratram and Believe.
Miratram and Believe knew what they needed to do. So Miratram, rather than keeping his spell shield for the Gragas ultimate, which is traditionally what ADCs do, he knew that he could have just burned the spell shield, because if Hulk used his ultimate, which indeed Hulk did, he could just get Lantern out to safety there. So that was really nice synergy coming out of the bot lane of Sentinels.
It looks like Matrix once again looking for some fights here as Xiaomain takes a big portion of damage. He really wants that Scuttle Crab though, but Matrix is going to make him fight for it. His ulti comes down and he gets it. Hashtag worth. Because everyone knows Luxor, it's only on 30-second cooldown.
Yeah, of course. It's very low cooldown. Oh, look, it's a crab. Bam! It's my crab now, and I've got the vision all around the top side. That vision is actually really strong because we've seen a lot of priority in this competition going out towards that Rift Herald ever since he got introduced to the Rift. So getting that vision down doesn't necessarily mean that your team will get it, but it certainly denies Sentinels from getting it.
Yeah, we've neglected a little bit how far skewed the top lane is in favor of Sentinels. Zahu is doing such a good job of denying CS to Kane despite trying to winning out that extended matchup. He's doing a great job of poking in and poking out, keeping the Trundle too low to make anything happen. In the bot lane though, Miratram just doing what Sivir does best, just farming, keeping Ezreal at bay, forcing him to use his Q.
And Melon is really low on mana now. It will come back eventually because it's slightly deceptive. Once you get that tier stacking, you've really got more mana than it looks like you have, but still you're not on a lot. It looks like he can only Arcane Shift once, and if he decides to Q a few more times, he won't even have that. So Melon needs to play a little bit defensive now.
Yeah, a good CS wave built at that bottom. That is going to force Melon and Visionary back as we see Xiaomain making his way in.
However, on the other side of the map, Hulk looks like he might want to get something top. Awkward angle, though, and finds a pink, so it's not going to be much for him, but the bot lane does eventually fall for the side of Sentinel, so that's going to be even more of a gold lead going out to them. We were talking about the 1k gold lead that came out at about 5 minutes. Now it's escalated to about 2.5.
Yeah, it's really running away with this early game, getting themselves the first tower of the game. Now grouping as 3 on the bottom side of this map. The only people to defend the Alistar and the Ezreal. But here comes Hulk in the mid lane.
And I just sort of feel bad for Hulk at this moment because he's found so many pinks, and that 75 gold is just nowhere near as juicy as the 300 that you would have got from a
Style
kill.
on them, boys.
The fade out.
Oh, that would have been embarrassing if Visionary just flash bulb knocked him back into tower. It was all for the lantern, boys. All for the lantern.
It's for swag points. You get it. It's all cool. He could have spell shielded anyway. It's fine.
If reactions are on point, I'll give him that one. So we see in the top lane, Fiora going to be picking herself up that Ravenous Hydra, while Kinnaid, he's still working off the Tiamat alone. Only a Glacial Shroud to keep it company. A 30 CS advantage for Fiora in this lane. The jungler's about even on that, but look how much the global gold is playing into it. How many items does Elise just have over? Oh, Visionary misses the combo.
Oh, if he landed that combo, that might have been the saving grace for this bot lane. But take a look at the health on the bot lane turret for Legion right now. They got
Hulk.
1 turret, and they might even get 2. And Hulk once again visiting a lane from a very awkward angle, not finding anything for his troubles.
Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit heartbreaking here as he finds another damn pink ward. And then on the bottom side of the map, Sentinels are going to be taking themselves a free dragon that we saw.
Oh.
The Ezreal coming through, but Illusion, he might be in a little bit of trouble. Flashes the Lux Binding and just returns with a laser. His whole team were there. That Lux Binding it hit, he might have been a dead man.
I mean, he says, "Why do you need to take cleanse? I've just got flash. I don't need to walk out of it. I can just style out of it." And eventually he burns his flash. That's not going to be up for the next 5 minutes, but he does manage to live and deny some gold on the side of Matrix. Matrix, though, doing so much work, throwing out his ultimate practically on cooldown. He says, "Ooh, I see something." You know, he sort of gets distracted by a shiny object and then just ults.
So it looks like he really wants a lot of movement speed. Not only has he had Ghost, which I haven't seen him use yet, but he's also picked up those boots of swiftness despite them suffering a minor nerf.
It's just a small one. It moved
Sure.
from 65 extra movement speed to 60, so it's not the end of the world, but yes, it was a nerf. I think the whole deal with Illusion at the current moment is he wants to be the gimmick with his Q. So once you use your power transfer on your enemy, you get a lot of movement speed, and you just have all the time in the world to chase after them. With the Swifties as well and Ghost, you can just stick on people. Not too sure why he wants to do that coming into the team of Legion. It doesn't look like they've got too much kite potential coming out here, but you know, if he wants that movement speed, he can, but Melon gets ulted.
Oh, he might be in a little bit of trouble here. He flashes. It's all going to be on to this. Oh, if he can get the last proc of the Grand Challenge, it will fade, though. So Fiora might be in a little bit of trouble here. One more auto attack should do it, and the Iceborne Gauntlet's already paying dividends.
No, and Visionary coming in there last second, but Kinnaid gets caught by a hook.
He has no hope. I say that as he flashes over the box, but here is Mirror Tramp getting the beautiful boomerang. 2 procs of that, and that's going to be Xiao Main getting the execute.
Whoa. And we were about to say that Visionary, which is so good in defending his ADC in the bottom lane, it looked like a straight 1v1 for Sazahu there. He just said, "I can take this Ezreal. He's on low mana. He doesn't have many items. All he's got is an Iceborne. And I'm a Fiora who could dash around every 2 seconds. That's no problem. I'll just take him." And in the end there, Visionary flashes. Nice combo, but Believe getting taken low.
A good cleanse by Matrix. He would have been in a world of pain if that hit. Oh, the flashes coming out of both members there to ensure their survival. But nothing says map control than Sentinels getting the first dragon of the game, the first Rift Herald of the game, getting a kill and getting a tower completely uncontested. What more can you ask for?
And that's what you really want to use coming into your team composition. You got a Sivir. Just forget about every other check. You got a Sivir. It's just, you press W on Sivir and you just clear whole waves. Now that he's got the Essence Reaver, he's also got a Zeal. That's quite a bit of crit coming out for Mirror Tramp. And we were saying how Sivir's W got buffs there. If your first auto crits, all of your bounces crit. So that's just so much more wave clear on Sivir. We were thinking about the applications in team fights, but for mid game when you want objective control, it works just as fine.
Yeah, Sentinels sitting pretty here on about 4,000 gold in the lead. 3 towers to 1. And the only dragon in the game as we see Hulk, he might be a little bit of trouble. There's nowhere to go as Illusion gets that one for himself.
Not too sure what Hulk was doing in the enemy jungle.
Man, he sees how fun counter jungling is and he thinks, hey man, I want to go with that. And it just ends up biting him in his big gruggy ass.
Can't do it without your team.
Oh,
so
definitely.
it's very conditional. You can't just randomly say, I'm bored in mine, let's take a look at what camps are in yours. No, it doesn't really work that way, and he finds out the hard way by being sent back to his base.
Yeah, look at this, Sentinels. They are just taking over the map, camp by camp, just removing everything from Legion's jungle, and maybe even from their lanes here if they have their sights set on this bottom tower.
Oh, Mirrortram, he's turning on Sivir mode. He might just want to push this 2-turret once again. It's so hard to wave clear compared to a Sivir. What you got is you got Matrix with just the Lucid Singularity, but besides that, Melon, if he decides to use his ultimate for wave clear, which he can't now, it's just such a long cooldown because it has been nerfed. Before it was 80 seconds, now it's 120. Once you get cooldown reduction, it's not too bad. But in the early game, when you don't, it's actually quite painful to play with.
I mean, you really got to choose your singularities well, make them count, make them work, as we see Fiora just in the bot lane doing what Fiora does best, just screaming at the world, someone come down and fight me, I'll 1v1 any one of you. But no one on Legion taking up the challenge here is Matrix and Illusion. They're just looking for something to farm. They clear out their waves, no problem. Then they look to their jungle. Hulk, he's like, please, man, I need this farm. Don't take it, please. Whereas Xiaomain, he's happy to contribute some of his smaller Raptors over to the side of Illusion, who's doing a good job. He's eked out a little bit of a CS lead. Nice 20 for himself after completely finishing off that Luden's Echo and his item. Might be building a little bit of MR here with that Negatron.
I think that was just a temporary solution to the split push of Fiora. That was not meant to be permanent. They send their bot lane, Legion send their bot lane, sorry, to the bottom to defend that split push. But Melon decided to go back there, and Visionary backed off pretty much straight away. He just took a step into lane to say, okay, I'm here with my ADC, so don't fight him. And then he decided to move away. And now Fiora is going to be pushing again. You don't want to send Kinade against Sazahu because Sazahu is 2 levels above him.
This is where it's getting scary for Sentinels. Another 1,000 gold going over, scary for Legion rather, another 1,000 gold going over to Sentinels. And that's without team fighting. That's just from pure lane dominance and global gold. So they're doing everything right at this stage, but maybe a little bit wrong here as the 1v2 comes in. He does have backup from his team. The Cocoon goes down onto Hulk. Can he get the Grand Challenger? Goes down. The healing should be there. One more Q should do it. Just sees another little auto. He's looking at the Hulk. There it is. Picked up by the Elise. Now Kanade's in a lot of trouble. He's going to get flayed back behind the tower. The box not going to hit, but here is Mirrortram in the back line. The Sivir. So much movement speed. A double kill over to Elise Visionary. He's going to try and make something happen here. He stuns him up in the tower. One more tower shot. Dude, that should be it. The shutdown gold goes through. That's going to be 2 kills coming over to the Legion. They've done a great job to kind of stop the bleeding here. To look for a little bit more. Nothing going to happen as Illusion just making ground.
In the end there, they managed to defend that turret, but it wasn't for an advantage because they lost 2 members 4-2. It should be alright because they back off and it's all good, but it looks like Sentinels will press on. The downside to pressing this on for a prolonged period of time when it's 2-for-2 trade, when it's any sort of even trade, is that when their team comes up and your team comes up, they can get to that turret before you can. So if you can't take that turret down, you just have to back off, and Sentinels know this, so they back off clean and fair.
Well, Legion seeing a little bit of silver lining here as they get themselves that shutdown gold. So closing the gap by at least 1,000. We see on the side of Melon, he's picked himself up those 2 core items for Ezreal. On the other side, Mirrortram, he's got himself that Essence Reaver, he's got himself the Static Shiv. Both going for those Ionian Boots of Lucidity. They want that cooldown reduction. In Sivir's case, it gives her a lot of crit chance as well.
Yeah, and if he decides to go for Infinity Edge after that, imagine all of those ricochets coming out of Sivir. That should just be so much. Visionary, he's trying his best to defend this turret, but at the end of the day, nice spell shield.
He's in a lot of trouble now after having to use that spell shield, but there is the shields coming at Hulk. He's the one in trouble now, but Fiora is in the backline. They're trying their best to finish her off as Hulk gets taken down by Illusion. Now Visionary, he might be on the wrong side of the map though as Fiora sees him. The hook comes through. Can they get anything more? The flay, just going to be a disengage flay.
What a spell shield.
Yep, that was beautiful.
What an amazing spell shield. Mirror held his nerve all the way until the very end there when he needed to, because he said, these abilities are coming at me, I can just take the damage ones, no problem at all. Until Hulk threw that big barrel that you can distinguish from his smaller one, because it goes up in the air in sort of an arc, he decided spell shield that, but Believe it's taken down here.
Believe's going to have to be distinguishing the difference between dead and alive because he was caught out of position. It's going to be on Matrix and Visionary. A great job of CCing that one as Trundle doesn't want to take these duels anymore.
He's on the wrong side though, so Sazahu can chase him down if he wanted to. In the end, decided that minions are more important. I mean, Fiora keeps on scaling, right? So more minions have never hurt him. But it's just so hard for Kinade to lane against Sazahu. Last time we had a brief check-in with this top lane, it was 2 levels above. Now it's 3. This is so hard for Kinade to defend, and Sazahu is just pushing every single lane, whichever one he decides to split push in, to the turret.
I don't believe I've ever seen an Iceborne Gauntlet on Fiora before, so this is a first for me personally. But on the mid laners, it's all on the back of Matrix. He's got his Death Cap, he's got his Athene's Unholy Grail, and he's just taking so much damage. He needs to be able to shield those. The Victor Laser is hard to predict, but that's what you have to do when you're in that matchup. Matrix, he's going to be taking a lot of damage on the brunt of that one, though.
It's hard to predict the first part of the laser, but you know that the second part's coming, and you just have... It's not even a quick reaction needed to shield your second one.
Sure.
If Matrix managed to shield himself, then he would be on. He would have only lost half the health that he lost, and he would be staying here defending instead of leaving his team to do it. In the end, though, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem because Mirror doesn't want to push this too hard. He can if he wanted to because he's a Sivir, but he might just decide to sort of stalemate it for a bit here.
Yeah, in the top lane, Salza, who is going to be split pushing completely uncontested towards Kinade, he's going to be forced to come up. They're 3 levels behind, so definitely, 2 levels as he gets that little level up through his trouble. So definitely at a deficit here and doesn't want to take the fights, just want to hold the ground. But Xiaomain, you scumbag, you got 4 mana, you didn't need that blue buff.
He smites it, he says, I needed to secure it. I needed to secure it. Hulk could have been anywhere. You don't know, you could have altered it.
That would have been a worthy ult as we see just constantly these teams just split pushing here. It looks like Kinade, he might be in a little bit of trouble, knows that he can't fight this, but so much damage from Zazu. Does he want to take anything more? He's still relatively squishy despite having a lot of armor. That's something that Trundle can just take away. He's very lacking in the health department.
That was half of Kinade's health in just one Fiora combo. And Fiora's not known for high burst combos. She's known for consistent damage throughout a fight. So being able to do a single rotation onto Kinade with low cooldowns, imagine that if Kinade wasn't close to his turret. He might well be dead. And that Iceborne Gauntlet, no, you're correct. We haven't seen that too much on Fiora. It's very niche, but in this condition, it's good niche because Trundle, he doesn't have any dashes whatsoever. So once you start slowing him, he can't run away from you. And right now, he can't fight Sazahu either. It's just a nice pickup.
The Sentinels just doing their best to get a little bit of damage here and there to every tower. Eventually, they're going to fall. There's no Heimerdinger in this game, so none of these turrets are getting that passive health regen. As we see Believe in the mid lane just doing his best to hold the wave at bay as he waits for his mid laner Illusion. Melon and Hulk just trying their best, but without the Illusion Singularity, they don't have any AoE wave clear to do anything against Illusion.
Believe, if he wanted to, should have pulled the trigger there because both Kinade and Matrix were in the top side trying to catch out Sazahu.
Didn't believe in himself.
No, he didn't. If he went for the hook, if he believed in himself, then he would have been able, hopefully, to find a pick, but it's all right. I mean, it's just effort lost, right? In the end, you didn't actually bring anything bad onto your team by not pulling the trigger because Sazahu got out of that situation, no problem at all. But now it looks like they want to fight?
No, Kinade, he does not want to fight this. He wants to do his absolute best to get away as we see Melon making his transition over. He's got himself the BF sword, definitely the makings of an Essence Reaver here to get that mana sustain a little bit better. On his opposite, though, the Hex Drinker has been picked up. That makes Matrix's kill potential so much less should he focus Mirror Trap. That's a spell shield and the Hex Drinker shield that he has to deal with at this stage.
It's just so hard to find the backline of Sentinels because Illusion, he's got Ghost. Pair that up with Miratram's ultimate as well. Imagine how fast that Victor moves. He power transfers you as well. Oh man, that guy's going to be speeding all around the fight. So yeah, it's just so hard to pick out this backline. And that's really what Matrix wants to do. The whole deal about Lux is she's got a double bind, and that's better than most other champions because it can hit 2 people. If you manage to hit a carry and somebody else, that's the carry dead. And you can burst down the other person easily with the rest of your team. If you get 2 carries, that's 2 carries dead straight away. But you can't really get either of these, and it's just so punishing for Matrix.
Oh no, Hulk, he's in a world of hurt. The cocoon lands. The bite should be enough. He's going to use the ulti, but there it is. Kinnaid, he might be the next one to be in a little bit of trouble. Has to use the ulti to be defensive here as he doubles in size, but they don't care. They're not intimidated. They're just going to back off and try to get a little bit more maybe.
Maybe they want to fight this. Sazza, who doesn't quite have enough health to dive this though, as he opts for more damage rather than tank. It looks like the buildings of either a BT or a Mercurial Scimitar. Maybe a Mercurial because you just want to dash around even more.
Hey, they have so many ways to get rid of that Lux binding. He can parry it. You've got the spell shield. If he goes for that Mercurial Scimitar, then he's got another way, Mercurial Scimitar rather, another way. But they crack the base here. That's going to be the first inhibitor turret of the game as we see Zazu in the backline. He wants to take Melon. He's going to have to flash out of that one vision. Oh,
whoa!
He interrupts the legend. Zazu, he's in a world of hurt now. They're trying to take him out, but he does a great job of parrying any further CC. He's been exhausted, but he wants to come back in here. The stuns go down. Kinnaid will be the first one to fall. That's the grand challenge, healing up the entire Sentinel squad. A double kill going over to Illusion, and that's surely going to be the inhibitor.
It surely has to be, and right now with the death timers on the side of Legion, they could even push this just for the victory. They've got enough split push, we know from the Siva, so they might, yeah, it looks like they're just going to go for it. Sazahu, he actually got interrupted mid-lantern. Unfortunately though, not enough follow-up from Legion, or else that would have just been the perfect play to watch.
Unfortunately, Legion continue their loss streak. But hey, Sentinels, they're going to be feeling good after that one. They looked a little bit dominating from start to finish. Every single lane, maybe, except for that mid lane, just doing a great job of getting a lead and then holding that lead. From the first team fight in that bot lane, they looked like their teamwork was on point.
It looked like it, and Legion there, they actually had quite a commanding presence in the game all throughout the early, even going into the mid. So it was just so heartbreaking to watch it sort of crumble coming into the late there, because, you know, it really started to show the cracks in their champs league, which was they've really got the one-trick pony, which is catch them out with the Lux binding and then burst them down. How are you going to do that when everybody can just get rid of the binding or just dodge it completely before it even hits you? Yeah, and that was the real problem with their team comp. It looks like Sentinels, they just planned completely around the Lux and they avoided it pretty fine.
You know, when you put all your eggs in one basket, you're setting yourself up for catastrophe. So many great items that players can build to counter a bit of a one-trick pony team comp there. We saw Hulk time and time again. He tried, God bless him, to get into those lanes, constantly spotted out by Pinkward. I'm sure he had more ward kills than anyone else in the game towards the end of that one, but he was impactful on Lee Sin last week. He wasn't impactful on Gragas this week. Maybe the Rek'Sai?
Maybe
next week.
Maybe you want to go less for the utility and more for the damage. Maybe you even want to pick up somebody like Nidalee of this type. Sure. I don't know, but it looks like at the current moment their strategy of picking somebody who can really bust somebody on the enemy team back into your team, it's not working too well because they're not finding a lot of those entrances they need.
See, their bot lane kind of confused me here. They got the Ezreal and they got the Alistar. They want to keep the Ezreal safe for as long as possible, but it seemed like they're constantly looking for fights. And Visionary, he was always way over the threshold of what he should be allowed to be when he has that Ezreal as his backup.
Yeah, that Ezreal, it's sort of like a weird dichotomy in the bot lane where the support wants to go in and then the ADC doesn't really have anything to follow it up with, because as Ezreal, you need to save your Arcane Shift to get out. There's not many conditions in which you want to Arcane Shift in. It's very niche where you want to use it aggressively. So yeah, he didn't manage to find many good entrances to engage on the enemy team. Especially seeing as on the other side, Sentinels, they got the early level 2 from that Grump. It was just so hard to play against him throughout the whole laning phase.
Yeah, so Legion, unfortunately, going to get another loss under their belt. But Sentinels, they've got to be feeling good here. That's another win for them, getting them just that little bit closer to the middle of the pack. But later on, we're going to be having Fortnite taking on Legacy Genesis. Now, while we got a little bit of time, Legacy Genesis, they're looking a little bit shaky.
Yeah, in the recent past, they've not been performing at their peak. They came into this tournament, we had our bets on them being in the top 2 because they were just so strong. They had nice teamwork. They had a lot of support staff behind them that was just really helping them out, and just individually they were great players. But recently they've been slipping a bit, and there's really nothing that you can attribute it to. It just looks like they're just not playing as well as they used to. They're a shell of their former self. On the other side, though, Fortnite, they've been rising and rising. They've performed really well in the previous games. Even the ones where they lost, it had such a commanding lead, and it wasn't a definite loss. You couldn't call it by 20 minutes by any long shot. So, yeah, this is a pretty interesting matchup coming in.
Alrighty, guys, when we come back, we're going to see if Legacy Genesis can prove us wrong and get back to their former self, or will Fortnite crush their hopes and dreams? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, my name is Max Rogi for Foglia, joining me by Jimmy Preacher Fu. And we've got a special game coming up next. Fortnite taking on Legacy Genesis, who as of late have not been living up to the team's reputation.
And if anybody is to point out, not really to blame, but really as somebody who's been slipping
Definitely
recently.
the weak link at the
The
moment.
weakest link coming in for Legacy Genesis, I'd have to give it to Psyker because he hasn't been performing as well as he did when the OCS started this season, this split, sorry. Yeah, it just looks like his KDA has been dropping a lot. He hasn't been participating in team fights, and it looks like they've given him a lot of really good champions to play around. I think he got Gangplank even, you know, that amazing Gangplank barrel. I mean, you really can't defeat Gangplank late, and even then, he only really zoned out. He didn't exactly have a high impact. His damage wasn't the highest. His ultimates weren't too on point. So yeah, it looks like if anything, Legacy Genesis want to tighten up their team play, they have to really start with Psycho.
Yeah, we know that their bot lane hasn't been performing as of late, but that's when you as the mid laner, they give you the resources, they give you the strong champions. You have to step up and perform, and you mentioned Psycho. He's just not ticking all the boxes right now, but on the side of Fortnite, they're looking incredibly strong, coming off a good few wins, but a few little shaky losses here and there.
Yeah, exactly. And to contrast that against Legacy, it looks like none of their players are really standalone, either going up or going down from the median. It looks like everybody's sort of on the same page. They're not overperforming, they're not underperforming, they're moving around as a unit, they're playing as a team rather than as individuals. Even if that's in split pushing, it still looks like it's extremely coordinated. So that may be what tips it in their favor if it does coming into this matchup.
Well, it definitely looks like you weren't the only one to think that Psyker isn't doing his just, as in the side of Legacy Genesis, subbed him out for Ryoma. So we got Squiggle in the top, Babib in the jungle, Ryoma in the mid-wrap. So Zami's gone as well, and then it's going to be Zephyr on that support. Well, on the side of Fortnite, you got Ho, Fesh, the Italy god, Knight, Vern, and Matthew to round up that line. And last week, I know I don't want to say it again, but this guy in Italy is insane. But it's going to be interesting to see how he can play such an invade-heavy style jungler against a high-impact team like this Legacy Genesis lineup.
In one sentence, I'm just going to say Fesh MVP of last week, and that's where I'm going to leave it at. But to highlight this week, though, I would love to see Fesh going into aggressive junglers once again. Take you to the enemy jungler, take you to him, because traditionally we have seen Fesh sort of become very aggressive early on. He doesn't waste time on his own camps. He doesn't waste his health and mana either on his own camps, which early game matters a whole lot. He likes to take those rift scuttlers, which don't take any damage, don't give any damage to you, and he likes to go into the enemy jungle and just take it all to him. Babib, on the other hand, he's been one of those junglers time and time again where resources just haven't been flowing to him.
Yeah.
It looks like he likes to just back off kills and give them to the laners, give them to whoever's going to take it, sometimes even to their support. But he just doesn't like to take kills, and he likes to have impact early, certainly, but he doesn't like to take the money. So if he doesn't get ahead in terms of gold, then maybe Fesh could find a weakness in that strategy and take it to his jungle.
Well, I'm sure a lot of those resources were being funneled into Psyker, as we said just before, but now with Ryoma, the new mid laner, maybe Babib might get a little bit more breathing room, not having his Raptors and Wolves constantly up for contention by his own mid laner. So, and a new AD carry, Zami, wasn't performing as highly as we would have liked to see from a Legacy Genesis player. So it's going to be interesting. It's big shoes to fill, no doubt. Zami, such a great player in his own right, but can Raps step up to the task here?
Well, I certainly hope that Raps steps up to the task, because if we take a look, the mid lane and the ADC, those two are the traditional carry roles. They sort of go off in a team fight. Everybody else, the top, the jungle, and the support, they have to dump all of their CC, and they really shape the environment of the fight. The mid laner and ADC, their job is just to sort of find the openings and deal as much damage as they possibly can, subbing them out. I just hope that it does a lot of good for Legacy Genesis, because the mid lane and the ADC are the two roles which you can sort of plug and play the most.
Yeah, well, Fortnite, they've definitely done their research here, as two mid lane bans, Zed and LeBlanc, going to be directed straight at Ryoma here, so maybe a bit of a solo queue god on those assassins, forcing it onto maybe a little bit of the utility role here, while on the side of Legacy Genesis, they're going to be taking away that Kindred, at least, and Nidalee, so three junglers That is very directed at Fesh, so they know where the real power is in this 4-0 team, and then Jin going to be the final ban to round things out here. But Kog'Maw falls through the nets, gets caught up by the team of 4-0. Let's see if they can play him to the ability we saw earlier on in the day.
What sort of net is that? You just took away 3 really aggressive junglers from the side of Fesh. What's he gonna do? He can still pick Gragas. Gragas is really aggressive early on. If you build a runic echoes, it's like you were playing an Elise anyway. It doesn't really matter. Once you take off all of these other champions, you've still got more. I don't really know why you're trying to focus on the jungler. Sure, like we said before, Fesh is... I did give Fesh MVP for last week, but that doesn't really warrant 3 bans, especially when the likes of Kog'Maw are up and you give it over to 4-0.
Well, this is a trend we've seen happen a lot lately. The team first picks 4-0, and then the other team takes away the 2 most valuable resources to that Juggernaut comp. That is going to be Squiggle, going to be taking away that Lulu, and then Babib taking away that Gragas. That means there's no wild growth and there's no explosive cast to keep that Koggle safe. So if they're going to go for an all-in comp here, I would love to see some Fizz action.
One thing that they left up, though, that works really well with Kog'Maw is Braum. Because all Braum does is he just tanks up all that damage. Another good one is also Alistar, because he is that engaged.
Poppy as well.
Yeah, and Poppy as well. And they left both of these champs up. Morgana, an amazing support. We haven't seen her too much, but at the end of the day, she still does what she always does. She puts a black shield on your ADC. Yeah. And Kog'Maw, his deal is not really that he gets bursted down. It's the fact that he gets CC'd, so then he gets burst down, because he doesn't have so much mobility. His peel, as opposed to other ADCs, is the fact that he slows you. He doesn't move fast, he doesn't dash, but he slows the enemy team. So if you put Morgana with him, then that black shield, that should be enough to keep him alive, because he's got a lot of lifesteal. If you get a Runeans and a Blade of the Ruin King, that's a lot of lifesteal for yourself.
I was curious to see if Legacy Genesis went for a staple AD carry or tried to match the hyper carry in that Kog'Maw, maybe picking up the Caitlyn we saw earlier in the day, or Jinx. Even that range and that AoE does help a bit, but it looks like they will be defaulting back to Lucian and the Janna here. So we're seeing it protect the Kog'Maw comp without the Kog'Maw on the side of Legacy Genesis here.
Yeah, and out of all of the champs, you want to protect Lucian, somebody who's a scrapper, somebody who doesn't do consistent damage, just sort of finds openings, does some quick bursts, and then dashes out again and waits for another opening. I'm not too sure why you want to protect him. Also, a Janna going into a Cog. Look, you got Alistar up. Sure, you got a Morgana, but you could just bait out her black shield every single time. And once it's down, you can engage in that Kog'Maw and get that early game advantage, which is what you need to do as a bot lane going into a Kog'Maw lane. A Janna just doesn't do too much for this composition, especially not seeing as you have a Gragas already. Gragas ultimate, a Janna ultimate, they pretty much do the same thing. So it's really weird how they actually picked up Janna for Zephyr.
Yeah, but on the side of Thornot here, 2 new picks to the OCS, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be the Echo, followed by the Kassadin. 2 champions who constantly rise and fall in popularity, but here we are going to be seeing them on the side of Thornot. That is going to be Echo in the jungle, I'm sure, and Kassadin in that mid lane. So kind of excited to see some Echo and Kassadin here.
Knight has had a pretty good history with Kassadin. Sure. I mean, it doesn't really matter how much you change around Kassadin. He's going to be that one champ who is just so hard to balance around, because at the end of the day, he has an ultimate, and that Kassadin ultimate is his saving glory. It just completely tears teams apart, and if somebody's split pushing a little bit too far ahead, then you caught him out and they're not going to run away from you. So that's actually a really nice pickup going into a Lucian here. Like you said, it's a protect the Cog. Without a Cog, it's a Lucian. Who assassinates Lucian? I think Kassadin does it pretty well.
It'd be interesting to see if they can break that front line. They've got the Gragas, they've got the Lulu, now the Fiora to add a little bit more oomph to their punch here, because so far it was just a hell of a lot of defensive things controlled around this Lucian, but now that they have the Fiora, I'm kind of starting to see the light shining through the idea that Legacy Genesis have behind this team composition on the side of Thornot. They just want damage and lots of it.
Yeah, exactly. And this, with Kog'Maw in a composition, you have one of 2 options. You either go protect the Kog'Maw, which is the most standard one, which is just you try as hard as you can to make sure that Kog'Maw doesn't die. You dump everything on him, and he's your one saving grace. Or your second option is to just pick people who are just so hard to deal with. And your whole team is so hard to deal with, and at the end of the day, once you're dealing with all these hyper carries, Poppy gets up in your face. No damage items, no problem. He still has such high bases, such high utility, just diving into the enemy team and denying dashes going out. If you can just pick very high priority targets, then there's just a Cogmore in the backline that you're not even accounting for, ripping you apart slowly, and you can't even pay focus to it because you got this Poppy in the front lane denying your dashes. You can't get to that Cogmore. You can't deal with him. It's hard.
You know what they say, the best defense is a good offense, and that's going to be certainly true for Fornot's team composition. So Echo, he's one of the unique champions that has a very unique gank path. Same with Rek'Sai, can gank from those Raptors by getting that parallel convergence, I think it's called. Yep, followed by the dash to get that massive AoE stun, followed by a huge shield. Rek'Sai also going to be able to burrow under that. So looking forward to see if they utilize this unique quality that Echo brings to the table here.
They certainly have to. And Echo, he's just a breath of fresh air coming into this tournament. We've seen Echo.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, we've seen Echo a lot in the past. Not so much in Season 6.
Sure.
But the abilities are still the same. In the end, it's just the numbers that have fallen off. But with the new Runic Echoes,
Yep.
I'm not too sure why other junglers haven't picked him up in professional, because he's just got better and better with his new gang path, like you said, the unique one where you don't get spotted out by wards as opposed to other traditional junglers. I'd love to see how this one plays out.
I think the real defining factor into why people don't play Echo is there's a lot of things you have to do. Very high skill cap champion where someone like Rek'Sai does exactly the same job, just a little bit easier to manage. So we are now onto the Rift. Will Legacy Genesis continue their downward slope, or will Fornot come back and show us that they're not for nothing? They're a force to be reckoned with here.
Hopefully they do, but at the current moment, it just looks like it's going to be a standard line of scrimmage. So
Yeah.
nobody's going to give or take quite a bit of a trade in the top lane. Actually, as Ho establishes his dominance in the top lane, they're going to get on full health, but at the end, Ho says, if you want to trade me, then I'm going to do more damage. And it certainly looks that way, because we were saying how Fiora got a nerf early game because Riposte is the last ability that you scale, so you're only going to have 1 point in it. That's a 24-second cooldown.
Huge.
Before, you didn't even necessarily have to block CC with it. You just block a high damage ability, and that was just an out trade in your favor. Now you can't even do it because Ho, he'll just pop down the hammer every single time. He bring down the hammer when you try to CS, and he just wins the trade.
It looks like we will be seeing standard starts here and there. Junglers going to be starting on their respective top sides, while both of the ADC, or bot lane rather, we see a little bit of an invade here.
They will be spotted out.
Yeah, spotted out by a ward, so that's going to be a nice chunk of damage onto Raps. I can respect that coming out of Matthew.
That was a really nice play, because Matthew caught Raps out there, that means that Gromp, good buddy of Matthew, managed to dump a lot of damage onto Raps, and Raps also opted not to take the Gromp, which means he just goes to lane with a lot less health, and that may be the little advantages they needed going into this lane. But Vern takes quite a bit of a trade.
Yeah, they're really going in here. The Lightbringer does hit, doing a lot of damage. Not going to follow it up with those auto attacks. Though Zephyr just using the buff from his shield to continuously auto attack in the top lane. Squiggle and Ho, you mentioned, just going to be trading blows. Doesn't have that riposte just yet, so a lot of damage will be hard to avoid once she brings down that hammer.
It's so hard to play against the Poppy because if you take a look right now, they're trading.
Yeah, they're going just back at it. Ho is going to be forced to flash it, but Squiggle, he flashes in, gets the Vital. One more should do it, and that's going to be first blood going over to Squiggle, who just downright outplays Poe.
That was amazing, because Ho, at the very least to us, it looked like he established his dominance early on. He said, you want to trade with me? I'll just do so much more damage to you. Unfortunately, though, he miscalculated. He flashed out, but he flashed out at an awkward angle such that it allowed Squiggle to flash and follow up by hitting 2 Vitals, and that was enough to take down Ho. But early game, Ho, he can trade because he can stay at range. Whenever his passive is up, he can just attack Squiggle and get that health from the Grasp of the Undying. But Squiggle, he's got that. He's got his vitals up, so every single time that he attacks you from the passive side, he's getting health back.
Yeah, just a complete and utter outplay. We see Fesh, he's going to be netting himself this red buff any minute now. Maybe not, as his smite narrowly coming off cooldown. He should be able to get the stun and the shield. There it is. No health, no problem, as Fesh finishes up his red buff. And look how much health Babu has. That just goes to show sustained junglers versus damaged junglers. Just how much of a difference there is.
I actually really like this Echo coming into this, because there was an element of it that we didn't really expect coming into the Champs League, because we didn't have the full knowledge of the lineups in this game. But now that we do, it's actually quite important, because if you take a look at the Gragas and also the the Janna coming in against Echo. Echo could just ult away from either of those two ultimates. Not only the CC, but also the damage. You just negate either of those two. That's pretty damn strong going into team fights.
Yeah, so despite having that first blood gold on the side of Legacy Genesis, it still is even in the gold count as CS discrepancies are all over the board. Ho winning out that one. The mid and the bot lane also with a neat little advantage from themselves. But Squiggle is just showing off some flair right now, hitting these vitals like it's no one's business, and the junglers should be meeting up here.
Both junglers go up to the top side. Ho and Squiggle don't have flashes, but it looks like the junglers are just going to intercept each other in the river, and nothing much happens in the top lane. But yeah, there is a discrepancy between Poppy and Fiora, because both of them want to trade around their passives in order to get that health back. The downside to trading around your passive is that Fiora's passive is always up, whereas Poppy's has a cooldown.
Yeah, it looks like Fesh might be going for another detour in the top lane. Going to be finishing that with a recall, but keep in mind there are 4 teleports in this game, and 3 of them are down 2 on the side of Legacy Genesis, so Knight still has his own TP available should any shenanigans break out around the map. Looks like we do have a fight for Scuttle Crab here as the stun's going to go down onto Babib. Fesh, he wants more than he can chew here, whereas as the mid laners, they're going to have to be moving off, but Babib, he might be in a lot of trouble, should force a flash here.
And Knight decides to accept
no.
this.
Knight, what have you done? You've gone in. You've been polymorphed down. Fesh, he's going to try to answer with that. The Time Winder hit, so that's going to be a 1-for-1 trade here. But wow, really good positioning by Ryoma and Babib to catch out Knight.
I don't think it's over because Ho has moved down to the mid lane. Looks like he'll just be going back to the top side, no problem, pushed his lane. But yeah, it looked like Knight just went in too fast there because he went without Fesh. Maybe they weren't on the same page because Fesh said, hey, hold on, I got about 5 seconds off my dash, so just let me get that cooldown before I go in. And Knight says, what, go in? And then he just goes in straight away to his demise, got polymorphed, got CC'd, and died before Fesh joined him.
Yeah, that's going to be a real detriment to his laning phase here, as he was up a considerable amount of CS that allows Ryoma to get back into this game. Now that Lulu has hit the level 6, Kassadin did follow up with a level 6 of his own. She's going to be so much harder to kill. But now we're in the bot lane. A good black shield to avoid any extra damage, but Rapsy's doing a great job of getting these Qs in, as we see a gank in the top maybe.
Yeah, it looks like Babip's going into the top side, but the lane is way too pushed, and Gragas before level 6 is not really a lane ganker. You need that ultimate to push people away from their own turret in order to get a successful gank off, and because he's not 6, he just can't do that.
You got to give credit to how well Knight CS is. They were even CS, comes back to lane, and he's already up 10 of his own, so just doing a great job of using everything this Kassadin has to offer to maintain a CS lead. We see Feshi just clearing out wards, clearing out his Gromp in the top. They might be going for a little bit of exchange here.
Ho is just consistently losing these trades, and that is not really his fault. That is Squiggle doing a lot of work. Yeah, at the current moment, if you take a look into the mid lane though, I actually quite like this matchup that you were talking about, because Knight is a melee champion going into Lulu, who is a ranged champion. It's really hard to farm up, but Knight just knows his champion back to front. He knows when to go in for CS and when to leave it. And it sort of puts Ryoma on a back foot, because Ryoma has to decide whether he wants to poke or whether he wants to last hit. Turns out he's been making the wrong decisions because Knight has got a significant lead.
Yeah, he's going to pick himself up a blue buff donated to him from Fesh. The binding does land, but Matthew not going to get anything more as Zephyr just pops down the shield and says, how you going, mate? Walks off with that one, a big CS wave. Burns should be picking that one up. Should he get all of these, it's going to put him in quite a bit of a CS lead over his lane opponent.
It should, and it looks like he should be able to do it no problem at all. This Conmor's already got the 2 component items of that Ginzu, so he should be scaling up relatively well. At the current moment, though, not so well, because Ginzu's, it gives about an 80% gold efficiency, but once you fully stack it, it's something crazy like 160, nearly 200%. That's insane. It's like the best item in the game at the moment. It's like the worst. It's simultaneously the worst and the best item.
I know, it's such an odd item. You can have, it gives so many weird components that only a niche few champions are able to roll with it. But currently about 8.5 minutes in the game, nearing to that 9, and Legacy Genesis are getting themselves a nice little lead here of about 300 to 400 gold, amassing from about a kill, bit of CS here and there. in the top, you see Ho and Squiggle. Ho, he's just been bullied time and time again. Doesn't want to bite off more than he can chew. But Knight, look at him. He just doesn't fear this guy.
This is just Lulu things. I mean, you don't even necessarily get Ryoma down enough to force the ultimate, but you already know that he's just going to ult and walk around and walk out of there safely. That is the power of Lulu. You don't even need to get her low to just disengage. She doesn't even need to pop her ultimate because it's all the mind games. You just know that you can't burst her down.
Or maybe a dive in the mid lane going on here, as that is going to be Knight taking out Ryoma with the help of his jungler, Fesh. And that's just one of the many gank paths that Echo can set up. I saw him waiting over in the wings of that mid lane. Gets the parallel convergence, gets the stun, and all that Ryoma gets is a death to his name.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how Ryoma can't be bursted down, but I was talking about from one champ. With two, it's unfair, so
yeah.
I'm not going to take that one. But otherwise, Ryoma does fall. Yeah, don't hedge your bets, but that kill even up this gold. It looks like it's about dead even right now between Fortnite and Legacy Genesis, but Ho gets ulted.
Oh, the challenge has been laid down, but Ho going to interrupt that one with his little field of no dashes allowed. Can't remember the name of that skill. It's been a while since I've played some Poppy. The hammer is just going to keep Squiggle at bay. It does go on cooldown after activation, but not as much should you choose not to activate it.
No, and a lot of skills in this game just don't go on the full cooldown. They go on about a 5-second cooldown.
Flash.
Double jungle gank in the top lane, though. It might just be a standard 2v2 fight. Both junglers not really going to find much, though, but Babib has his ultimate. Fesh is waiting for his to come back.
Yeah, Fesh, he used the flash to try and get that stun on his W to make some work happen here. Not going to get any fruits of his labor for that one. It didn't even force a flash from Squiggle, so got both teleports up for each members of the team should some cross-map plays decide to take place. Kog'Maw down in the bot. He's nearly picked himself up at Gwinsu's. There he is, recalls, gets that one for himself. Lucian has both the components of his Essence Reaver. One more recoil. Recall should do it as we see the teleport from Ryoma using that mid lane.
And this is the power of the bottom lane. Kog'Maw managed to get such an advantage off that what was seemingly very small play, binding Raps to the Gromp, taking a couple of extra hits. Well, that just led to a couple of extra minions, and that means that he gets his item before Raps does. That's going to be so strong coming into this, because if you wanted just a one-for-one item differential, then I'd say Lucia wins that trade any day of the week. But if you get to that 2-item spike, which Vern can get to pretty nicely as a bit of a scuffle happens in the middle lane.
Knight, I was going to commend him for doing a great trade, but he definitely stayed well past his welcome and just gets burst out by the Thunderlords combined with just the relentless auto attacks that Lulu offers.
Yeah, but going back to the bottom lane, I would just give the one item advantage to Lucian every single time in this trade-up. However, because of the advantage that Vern got by picking up this Ginzus before Raps did, it means that he's going to wait for the 2-item spike. And 2 items, I'd give it to Kog'Maw.
Looks like Echo just making his presence known in that top lane. Maybe they're going to be going for a dive for a Squiggle. He might be in a world of hurt here. Fesh, he wants to go for it. Hits the tower though. Squiggle, he lays down the challenge. The ulti comes through the Time Winder. Should that have hit, that definitely would have been a kill. Oh, that's painful to see.
Less than 100 health, but Squiggle just manages to, I don't know, hop out of there pretty safely, lunge out of there pretty safely, and all in all, that was really close, but Squiggle did have to burn a flash for that, so won't have that for the next few minutes.
Oh, Vern, he's in a lot of trouble. Luckily, the Black Shield from Matthew was clutch, and it completely stopped the explosive class. The Soul Shackle is down. Babby's in a lot of trouble here. The teleport from Ho. Remember, Lulu's got no teleport, so every member coming in here. Here's Squiggle. He's going to be picking up Matthew any minute now as that one goes down. Now, Ho in a world of hurt, trying to get a kill onto Raps to answer in the mid lane. Ryoma does take out Knight, but it looks like Ho, he's trying his best, dashing through the minions. He might just have to call it quits and back out here as Zephyr doing a good job of keeping him slow. But Vern, Zephyr's going to be careful here because here comes Vern. Squiggle might be in a lot of trouble. Oh, the dash is a defeat to interrupt his Ho. He gets that perfectly off. Now it's a bot lane of Legacy Genesis who should be in trouble here. Here comes Ho. Can he hit the slowed and onto Zephyr?
They can go for it.
Vern's going to go for it. Just needs a couple more auto attacks. So can he do it? No. Zephyr. Woo! Gets out of that one, but what a back and forth fight that was. No, here comes Fesh. He gets the kill. He's looking for one more. Gonna call it quits, though. That's why you don't open the shop when it is so risky, and Raps pays for that one with his life.
It does, and it's those small things that Fesh capitalizes on to get those kills. You might call it BM, you might call it sneaky, but you know what Fesh calls it? He calls it a nice 300 gold in the bank, and he's going to get a dragon off of this as well.
Yeah, that was a chaotic display, to say the least. Here comes Babby. We might look for something, but Fesh, he's got that dash to get himself out of these tricky situations. So after what was definitely a chaotic fight back and forth, Fortnite come out with 1,000 gold advantage. 6 kills to 4, and the first dragon of the game going over to them. And Lulu picking up the Frost Queen's claim. I haven't seen that item on a mid laner in quite a while here, Preacher.
And it's a bit of a problem being built in the middle lane because there are just so many other items that scale up better than it. It's sort of, Squiggle getting taken down really low.
Yeah, just great initiates here. Ho using the terrain to his advantage perfectly.
Yeah, and he knows his champion back to front. It's just you wall bob somebody and then you just dump massive amounts of damage. And this is the strength of Poppy that we were talking about. You don't need any damage items to do damage because you're always standing on top of them with your Sunfire cape. So that is how he managed to win so hard on the Squiggle, but Squiggle taking it down really low.
Yeah, he's just going to be dived any minute now as it's 1v1 from Ho. The grand challenge was laid down, but it didn't matter. Ho has no problem taking out the Fiora at this stage of the game, but Babib might want to answer here. No, just going to do that to clear his way. But I like what you were saying earlier about how the Frostqueen's claim has fallen out of favor. We see Cassidy, he's gone for that Rod of Ages. He wants that mana, that AP, and that health to keep his Rift Walk sustained.
If you give me a choice between a Rod of Ages rush compared to a Frost Queen's Claim rush, I'd take the Rod of Ages. If you give that same choice to me with the Morellos, I'd choose the Morellos. If you gave it to me with the Theans, I'd choose the Theans. That's why it fell out. Another problem is that it just didn't get the gold for the cost that you really had to put into it, because it cost quite a bit of gold and it doesn't quite give you enough stats to offset it compared to the other rush items that you can see, like the Roa, like the 2-mana regen items. The active, though, is really the saving grace of it, because it just gives you so much map pressure. When you don't know where the enemy jungler is, you press this button, and even if it doesn't find the enemy jungler, it shows you the general direction of where it is, because one of the ghosts will go to the mid lane, the other one will almost certainly go to the jungler, who should be the closest one around, so you know whether they're close or they're far, but top lane.
Oh, Squiggle is in a little bit of trouble here, but maybe it's Fesh, who have bought a bit off more than Giju. He does have the ultimate available. He's looking for a 1v1 here. I don't think he's got anything in his arsenal allowing him to take on the Grand Dueler, so a little bit risky here. Is in the bot lane. It's just going on everywhere. Vern might be in trouble here, as that could be a double kill for Legacy Genesis, so they answer with a gank of their own, and that's going to be a pause, but that gives us time to talk a little bit about this mid-lane matchup. So Cassidy, despite being a melee champion against such a poke-heavy little purple brat like Lulu, he's 40 CS up.
Yeah, he's 40
What's going
CS
on?
Or he's CS up, because normally you're torn between poking your enemy laner or getting that CS.
Sure.
Into a Lulu, you don't really have that choice, because you just think she's just going to ult herself whenever I burst her down, so I might as well just go for the CS. And what better CS machine than Knight on Cassidy, because Knight just loves this champion back to front. Whenever you ask him, which champ are you comfortable with, he'll say, Cassidy. He just loves this champion. He'll pick it up into pretty much any matchup. Also, his item power spike that we were talking about, compared to the Frost Queen's Claim, the only reason why you would pick it up onto Lulu is because Lulu is not traditionally a high damage mid laner. You want to pick her for the defensive capabilities that she brings for your ADC, for any other carry if you have one, like a Fiora in this game. It's really hard to really call her a carry as such, and because of that, it really makes it viable to pick up the Frost Queen's Claim, because she's playing as a pseudo support. What better way than to pick up a support item that's really helpful in the mid lane?
Alrighty guys, we are back into it as we see 3 members going to be making their way top, looking for Squiggle here. He's in a lot of trouble. Oh, the damage is coming down. He is going to flash, but Knight has one of his own to keep chase, but nothing going to come out of that one. So we saw just before the pause came through, it looked like after Fesh made his presence known in the top lane, that was the go button. Ryoma and Babib came down to the bot. They killed Matthew, they killed Vern, they got themselves those 2 much needed kills, but the Rift Herald's going to be started up here.
And this Rift Herald will go pretty nicely to Fortnite, which will compound their lead that they picked up very well in the top side. They trade turret for turret, but it looks like this Rift Herald is really their saving grace, because now they can push even harder.
Yeah, so Knight here, he's going to be getting himself maybe the makings of a Lich Bane or a Frostborn Gauntlet. It's really at his discretion right now. He's doing such a good job of CSing in this world and lane, and keeping, look at the CS advantage, 50 at the moment. So just doing a great job. Fortnite, about 2.5K in the lead at the moment. So they're just doing great all rounds. 2 turrets to 1, the first dragon and the Herald. So right now, map is definitely in their control.
And this is this gold lead in the mid lane, this CS lead, sorry, is in no small part to the item discrepancy between Knight and Ryoma. And that turret is going to get chipped down a lot, but Vern is going to respond a little bit in the bottom side, manages to pick himself up one. The deal is, though, that item that you rush on Lulu, it's very standard to rush the Frost Queen's Claim. And
can you hear that?
yeah, I can hear that. It's just Kog'Maw dying over and over again.
When the pause happens, I think the music loops and it's just going to be stuck on that. So Kog'Maw,
oh, amazing.
We've got the constant Cathy and surprise here every time we swift him. I think, what? Is Cog dying? No, he is killing. So in the top lane, though.
It's not really much of a surprise.
Ho, he can it out for him this lane, but now he's definitely found his own feet. Sizable CS lead against Squiggle. Maybe you can't 1v1 him yet. As I said, we saw it earlier, doing a great job. Fesh trying to go for a little bit invaders, but it does get spotted out by Babib.
And in the end, he takes that blue, and that's actually really nice because now he can put some vision down, which will transition very nicely into the dragon that's coming up in less than a minute. That should be really good for Fortnite because they've got the positional advantage. It should just be really good for them if they pick it up.
It looks like Echo's finished his Iceborne Gauntlet on the other side. Babib struggling to get one of those tier 3 items, just sitting on a Spectral Cow right now. Fights going on top and bottom side. Both of the Fortnite lanes doing a great job of splitting this map into 2. Feshi's on the tower with the baseball bat, trying to hack it down as we see Vern, the artillery, in the back line. Shut up, Acathian Surprise. You're not going off. You can't throw me off this time. But 2 items already finished with Vern. He's got his Runons and his Guinsoo's Rage Blade. On the side of Raps, he's only sitting on an extra Zeal.
Those are the 2 items that you really need in order to scale on Kog'Maw, and he's already got them, so he's going to be scaling very nicely. A bad thing about that split push, though, is the fact that you left Raps in the top lane. You needed that wave clear coming out so that your turret didn't get bursted down. Their turret is now on half health. Legacy Genesis, they're so behind right now if they decide, if Fortnite decide to push that bottom lane to the turret because they didn't have the wave clear for Raps, so Vern got so much damage down.
What are you doing, mate? Maybe he's got a little bit of backup here, but he wants to go for the kill. Oh, the flash, he misses the Q. Ho is going to be a lot of trouble now as Raps, he goes for it, he gets it behind enemy lines. He's going to pay for it with his life, though, as Squiggle just needs to hit a few more of these vitals. Can he do it? Here comes Babib. There's going to be the kill, and Matthew tried to play defender. Not going to happen, though.
Worth. Hashtag worth. He calls worth because he took out Raps for his own life. Yeah, it is, because now if Fortnite decide to siege within the next 15 seconds now is not too much, but if they decided to pull the trigger straight away off of that trade, then what they could have done is they could have just taken either the bot or the middle turret, and that could have just compounded the lead even more. They decided not to, though, unfortunately, and now they don't get that gold, which was essentially free at that time.
Just keep in mind, while Raps is waiting to respawn, his screen still black and white. Vern is farming and farming and farming. There's 2 waves he's been able to get in that, propelling his lead further and further this game. Just Kog'Maw, it's so hard to play against because you're basically you're playing against Fortnite and you're also playing against the clock.
Exactly, and Legacy Genesis, they need to pull the trigger now. Not only now, but they can't stop pulling the trigger because Vern, if you just give him time to scale, he'll just say, you know what, yeah, I'll just take your time. You're offering me time, I'll just take it and I'll scale up very nicely because I'm a Kog'Maw. I'll just get more and more damage. You don't want to verse me once I'm on full build. It doesn't matter if you are, I'm worth 2 of you, so I'll just do so much more. But Babib pulls the trigger.
Yeah, Matthew might be in a little bit of trouble here. Gonna have to flash out, but the teleports come down. Fesh looking for a fight, but both teams just gonna call it quits and think, hey, this Scuttle Crab isn't worth losing our life over. But if we compare mid laner builds right now, they've both gone for that Lich Bane. So Lich Bane and Lulu, something I haven't seen in a blue moon.
I mean, at the end of the day, she is ranged, so it's not too hard to apply that. But yeah,
Sure.
like you were saying, it's not too much of a common pick. I think the only reason why you would get it onto Lulu is because of the movement speed. You get it quite nicely on Lich Bane,
Sure.
as well as your Frost Queen's Claim. That just really compounds each other very nicely. But other than that, it's just very hard to play with because you don't have a lot of damage. Lich Bane scales off of your AP, so because you don't have a lot of that, Ryoma, though, gets caught.
Oh, Ho, he's going to be adding another one to the death note here as he cleans up Ryoma without a second's regard. The explosive cast comes down, but Ho, he's already got the kill for himself. Here comes Raps. Ho gets the body slam. He's so low, but he's tanky so much. One more shot should do it, and that's going to be Raps picking that one up. But another tower going to fall. Fornot, their map presence this game has been phenomenal.
It's alright. Whenever Ho gets a 1-for-1 trade, either onto the ADC or the mid laner of Legacy Genesis, it's fine. But once he stops getting that 1-for-1 trade, once Legacy sort of get that light bulb above their head and say, oh, Ho's just going to go for these split push dives, then maybe they'll catch him out. And once Ho gets taken out with these high death timers coming out, that could prove to be really detrimental for Fornot. So it's working out now, and until it doesn't work out, it works fine.
Yeah, Raps in the top lane. He just needs a little bit more gold to finish off that static shiv. He should be able to pick up this tower. The Knight might have something to say about that as he just clears out the whole wave. Looks
Raps
like
is
he
out
wants
of
to go
position.
for a little bit more here as Knight just deletes him without a second. Oh, to spare. That just goes to show that Cassidy in the right hands is still a viable champion.
Exactly, and Cassidy, before he needed that one item to really power spike. However, for the other ones, it looks like you can't for the current Cassidy, it looks like it's not really that easy to scale up. However, once you get an easy lane like the Lulu, you just have all the time in the world to get gold. Once you get that 2-item power spike, you can just take this game, and now it looks like they're going to take the Baron.
Yeah, Squiggle does have teleport, but it might be too late as Vern. It's already down to 2.4k health, 1k health. The barrel might be enough. The smite should come out, and that is going to be a secured Baron for Fortnite at 24 minutes in the game. 45k gold to 39. Their lead is so instilled right now that Squiggle didn't even bother teleporting, and he's not even going to get a tower for his trouble. We saw this just before Knight taking out a member who was way too far up, and we might see it again. Squiggle, he knows his only hope is to lay down the grand challenge, but Cassidy can keep him at bay. It should switch back to it any minute now, but it doesn't matter as Knight, regardless, picks up that one. The grand duelist has been usurped.
Exactly, and what do you pick into a Fiora? You pick Cassidy, because Fiora just wants to split push for days. Who counters split pushing? Cassidy really hard, because once you're pushed up to their turret, you've got a long way to run, and your team isn't with you. So if Cassidy decides to catch you out, he can very easily. In this split push meta, Knight, he looks for more though. Rushes really fast to a turret and then just stands still for quite a while, so not going to get much here.
Yeah, Legacy Genesis smartly backed off that one, so it's going to be on Fortnite to continue the push on this tower as Knight goes in with those little peaks and pops here. They do have the Baron minions on, so the damage to the towers are coming out.
Yeah, and there was a nerf delusion this patch where his ultimate isn't as long, so he couldn't clear the range creep. And that was enough tanking to take that turret down. It looks like they might even go for the inhib.
Yeah, they really want to make something happen here as the inhib gets lower and lower. It should be taken, and Fortnite going to retreat after that one. Just a couple of seconds ago, it was a 4k gold lead. Now it is an 8k gold lead. So Fortnite, whatever they're doing, I want to look in that playbook and figure something out for my solo queue games.
Yeah, Legacy, they're just not taking it to them. You just need to fight constantly, and now the window's closed right shut on your fingers as you were trying to hold it up, because you just needed to fight this Kog'Maw when he didn't have his power spike. And once he got that Rune Dance on top of his Ginzus, that was really donezo for you.
Yeah, look at this. It looks like Feshi wants to go for something, gets the double stun, but getting taken considerably low. He's got the ulti to keep him safe. Babib now in a world of hurt as Ho goes into the backline, but the grand challenge has been lined. Fesh, he's low, Ho's low, gets a one-man knock up. The tower does go down, but the chase is on by Legacy Genesis. Third, he's in a lot of trouble, going to have to flash out here. He's going to try and stand his ground. Ho goes down, Babib goes down. That should be one more, but here comes Knight with a massive triple kill, looking for the quadra kill. Squiggle, the only one going to be left alive. Matthew should get that, and that's a quadra kill going over to Knight.
Yes, that Quadra to seal out the end of that engage, and that is really what Cassidy is about. You don't want Cassidy going into a fight early and getting bursted down. yeah, they could just end this. They don't need to pay any respect to that turret. They can just take it straight to the base of Legacy and win this out. But yeah, Cassidy, what perfect positioning. You know what that positioning is? Not being in the fight until the very end. And what a cleanup.
It has been a while since I've seen Cassidy do nothing but clean shop. He came in, he saw every single thing available to him. He said, I'll take that one, that one, that one, and that one. Gets himself the Quadra, gets himself the win, and Fortnite proved that Legacy Genesis are definitely continuing this downward trend.
And Legacy, I think this is a problem that they really need to address. They need to pull the trigger. I don't think they have a shot caller on their team who really has a strong voice. Instead of saying, we need to do this, they're asking questions like, should we do this? And as soon as you're doing that, as soon as there are members on your team who are second guessing, that just falls apart, especially into someone who scales. Like, oh, what's that? A Cassidy and a Cogmore? Yeah, that's just so hard to play into.
Indecisiveness, definitely the bane of an organized team. But Fortnite, they had no problem pulling the trigger. We saw countless times. Legacy Genesis, they tried to go for the split push. They had the Lucian, they had the Fury. It didn't matter. Once Cassidy gets on you, gets those slows, he can just keep you at bay should he ever feel that the fight isn't going in his favor. But what an amazing game coming out of Fortnite. They're looking fantastic.
Yeah, they definitely did. And Knight, he just played that Cassidy so perfectly.
Yeah.
Early game, you do nothing but farm just so you can get to your damage spike. Mid game, you catch out the Fiora and the Lucian who are split pushing. Why was Lucian split pushing? But Fiora definitely split pushing. He just wanted some gold. He wanted some turret and some presence. But Fiora, you know she's going to lane push. You know that for certain. You catch her out, you kill her because that's what Cassidy does. And in the late game, you just clean shop. He played that textbook, and that was just so beautiful to watch.
It was a game-winning play, that's for sure, but we're going to have a quick look at today's games and give you a recap of what just happened earlier on in the day. We saw Alpha Sydney get beaten by Abyss Red. A bit of an upset here, but I knew Red had it in the bag. They've been playing phenomenally. Where Alpha Sydney, they're good, but they've just stayed at this same level where Red, they're on the up and up, and I can't wait to see them take on Chiefs Black. But speaking of Chiefs Black, they were able to take it to Abyss White. A very easy and convincing win for them. Then we had Legion Gaming taking on Sentinels, and Legion just falling apart once again. The coercion not there just yet. Maybe in a few weeks when they've had a little bit of time together with their coach on hand, maybe work out the flaws. And Fortnite, Knight, leading them to a tremendous victory.
Yeah, and he shouldn't really be called Knight because he should be knighted for what he did in that game.
Yeah, and then the overall standings, you can see Chiefs Black definitely on top of the podium here. The team to beat, the all-round best team in the OCS currently. Then following up, not too far away though, Abyss Red and Fortnite. They've been looking tremendous in their games today and the past few. Then rounding out the middle, you got Alpha Sydney and Sentinel Esports on 3-3 apiece. Legacy Genesis, never thought I'd be saying that. Number 6, and Abyss White and Legion Gaming going to be rounding at the bottom of this table here.
That's just crazy to see on this ladder because we really expected Legacy Genesis to be doing well. They have a sister team who in emergencies they can scrim with just in their spare time. If they both have free time, they can scrim with. They've got all of this coaching support stuff that they can share between their sister teams. So it's just sort of strange to see them coming out not as strong as we expected them to. It may be because it may be due to factors that are in-game that are not out of game. For instance, you just exclude all of the scrimming that they do. You exclude all of the support stuff that they have, all the coaches and managers that are looking after them. You look to in-game, they don't have a shot caller. They're not decisive. They're questioning their calls. That may be their downfall.
Well, speaking of free time, if you guys have a spare hour or so, make sure to check out the OPL on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays night. I'm sure you guys can put your grind to Challenger on hold to see what some of the best that the Oceanic region has to offer. Then, of course, you can't forget the OOL as well. That's where you can make this transition from amateur to pro.
Definitely, and we've seen a lot of players, they actually skipped the OOL mark, naughty boys,
Ooh.
But yeah, they subbed in, and they've actually been performing really well. So if you think that you can beat them, join the OOL and show us.
Yeah, definitely right. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of the OOL. Last year, we had quite a few teams that we are casting today signing up. So all it takes is one good showing, get your mates together, get some of your friends online, get in there, practice. Ranked 5s is great, but if you're ever looking for a little bit more, that's definitely the place to check it out.
Exactly. And I really want to see the talent coming out because every single year it's just so exciting to see this new sort of dark horse say, oh yeah, he's just another challenger. All of a sudden, whoa, he's a massive playmaker. I want to see the hidden oceanic fakers come out.
Well, definitely. And don't forget on Thursday nights, you can tune in to catch us. But that's going to be all we have time for. So from myself, Preacher, all the casters, and the entire crew, thanks for watching and have a good night.
The fire makes the city look so bright. Close your eyes and just stay tight. We have to go. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe.